break into rich people's homes. My parents are rich. My parents' friends are rich. My friends' parents are rich. I know how rich people live. It was over 200 homes. And then they stopped counting around for 7 million. So there's helicopters flying over. There's cops parked on every other street. There's got to be like a murderer on the loose. And the people were looking for me the whole time. That Friday, they raided the house. He has no idea that I've ever been a criminal. He knows nothing. I'm fleeing the country. Please come with me. You're going to make me start crying because I see your eyes watering. Jesus Christ. Don't get teary-eyed on me.
You didn't give me a up.
When I first said cat burglar, when I jumped out there with it on social media, it was like, I said cat burglar because there's an element of stealth to a cat burglar versus someone who throws a brick through a window and takes your laptop and runs to the pawn shop, you know? So there was like many times that people were, you know, would come face to face with me. We would lock eyes. They would offer to help me commit these crimes, not even knowing, neighbors and stuff. And nobody could ever ID me or like point me out or anything, any type of ID. So there was an element of stealthy invisibility to my cat burglar.
Well, I automatically see you know, I see Catwoman, you know, scaling the side of a wall, you know, going in the window. Well, real quick, like, I mean, where, like, I know you just came from Jacksonville, but where were you raised?
So until I was 10, I was in Dominican Republic. My dad's Dominican. My mom's from Spain. Okay. So I was in Dominican Republic till I was 10, and then we came to Jacksonville, Florida, and then I was there ever since. I never left Jacksonville.
Why'd you guys move from Dominican?
My parents met in medical school. So my dad's a psychiatrist, my mom's a neurologist, and they met in medical school in the DR. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? Like this was that's an element of my story too. That's so crazy because like I didn't have to. There wasn't anything that wasn't afforded to me. I didn't have to go out and be a dumb, crazy person that wanted to.
It's not like they were laborers working in a field.
Right. I wasn't struggling like in any facet really, and so things that I did, they shouldn't have happened, and it's just ridiculous that they did. But anyway, so my parents met in medical school. My dad was the professor in the psychiatric department, and they basically started a practice in Dominican Republic. But
was your mom a student?
Yeah, she was a student.
You're kidding me? A professor slept with a student?
That's so I know, right? You just would never think. So, he wooed her, I guess, and so they got married. They had me. While my mom was doing her residency, they started a practice together, but it was really mostly my dad. But my mom, she wanted to make a lot of money, and she wanted to do big things, and so she wanted to come here, and so they did. They came to the States, and they just literally picked somewhere in Florida because there was a lot of old people, and my dad wanted to do geriatric psychiatry, older people. So they just came. I asked them, and they're like, we literally just picked somewhere like in Florida. There's a lot of old people, so.
Well, there's a lot of old people in Florida in general. Yeah. You could pick pretty much anywhere.
Yep.
I probably wouldn't pick Miami, but.
Yeah. So that's how we ended up.
Okay. So you went to it's just you? You're an only child?
No. My dad had 3 kids. My mom had 3 kids, and then they got married, and it's 2 boys and a girl and 2 girls and a boy.
It's the Brady Bunch.
So it's very, very comparable to the Brady Bunch.
He doesn't know what the Brady Bunch is.
Yeah.
Colby's so young, he doesn't know what the Brady Bunch is.
God.
I know. Listen, I do all the time.
So
at least
old.
Twice an episode, somebody says something, and I know. And my first thought is, Colby doesn't know who that is.
I asked my son the other day, I was like, Dom, do you know any celebrities? Like, name a few celebrities, you know? And I'm like, so he says Slim Shady because he's on Eminem, but he knows him as Slim Shady because he's on Fortnite, and he's like The Rock, and then he named like some athletes.
And he only knows him because he's on Fortnite.
Because they're on Fortnite.
I'm not hip at all,
right.
but I know who Slim Shady is.
Yeah. So he's like, and I'm like, do you know who, because this was when the Diddy thing was just starting. And I was like, do you know who Puff Daddy is? Or like J-Lo? And he's like, Ariana Grande? And I'm like, no. But outside of like Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, and these few other people, all this, like the world has changed. Society has changed completely. There's no more celebrities, these shows, everything's just, it's like different. Everything's so different. But yeah. So, okay. So my dad had 3, my mom had 3, they got married, they had me. My brothers and sisters, they're all, and it really is like the Brady Bunch. My mom and my dad, each one, they're like, they pair up, like 2 are 13, the next 2 are 11, and the next 2 are 9, and then I'm born. So when I was born, it was 9, 11, and 13, and they all had like a pair. And basically what happened was they grew up kind of struggling because my parents, you know, my dad was,
but by the time you came along.
But by the time, that's what happened. By the time I came along, everything was great. It was, you know, good. Everything was Gucci. It was good. So I had a good life, and my brothers and sisters, they could not imagine how I wouldn't do great, like the greatest things with the life that was afforded to me when they were literally doing 2-for-1 coupons at Burger King and really struggling.
That's how my siblings, they hate me.
Yeah,
they're like,
are you the youngest?
16 years old. You got him. He got a car.
That's
got a
what
brand
happened
new car.
to me. That's what happened to me.
Had to be 17. Had to pitch in. It was 10-year-old piece of garbage.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah. By the time I'm born, at 6 years old, we moved into the new house with the pool, and it's huge in a nice area in Temple Terrace, and they're like, the fuck?
Yeah, like he didn't. So are you the youngest?
Yeah.
That's it, man. It's the youngest thing. I really feel like being in prison and talking to people, and then people that have gotten in trouble, there is something to this birth order thing.
Like the middle child.
The middle child, the oldest, the baby. I mean, it's is
the older children in your family, are they kind of like super successful?
Exactly what the stereotypical, yes.
That's
they're
my
not,
sister.
Yeah.
Super successful.
My sister is not like super successful. She's a realtor, but things are going on now in that market. So, but she's very anal. She's very like, everything just has its place, black and white. You're right or you're wrong. This is good or it's bad. And that's it. Like there is nothing else.
Right? Is that my sister? Listen, my sister.
Judgmental as hell.
No.
Oh my God.
That's not true.
Like, and if it's not whatever she likes, like it's beyond her way is the right way. It's just like, it's her way is the only way. Like, how dare you even think of outside of whatever she thinks? Like,
if my sister texts me and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm trying to find somebody that makes these mugs that are big enough that I can put my logo on." Yeah. That I'm just trying to kind of hunting down some mug stuff. Listen. I have 2 friends that make mugs. Have you tried this website? Like, she'll spend the next hour researching it, and she's trying to be helpful, but it's like,
right.
You have to not mention things because she jumps all over it. And next thing you know, hey, I can schedule an appointment for. Like I've said, I'm looking for mugs.
And then they get aggravated if you don't do whatever. Yes, I know. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. So, okay, so that happened, and basically, by the time I was about 12, everybody was gone. It was just my mom, my dad, myself. I think one brother was still living at home, but everybody was at school, university. Nobody has, like, just for reference, nobody in my family has tattoos. They don't smoke cigarettes. They, might have an occasional social drink. Nobody's been to jail. Nobody's been in trouble. I don't even know if these people have all gotten speeding tickets. I really don't know. But it's like
these people.
Like the people as in the whole group collectively.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say that every one of them has. But what ended up happening was my parents got divorced. So at 12, things started kind of getting a little rocky. My parents ended up getting divorced when I was 15. It was not traumatic. There was not like some moment that I had that was just, oh my gosh, my life is falling apart. It's not it at all. They got divorced. I was fine with it. I stayed with my mom. Both of them were very successful, but I always just had this need for like something else, I don't know. I felt like I was just bored in life. Like the mundane things that everybody did, get up, go to work, the same routine every day. I just felt bored. I needed some kind of like stimulation. Mentally, I just thought everything was boring as hell. So I went and I sought it out, and I found it in people and environments and like just crazy things that weren't, allowed, like skipping school, like just very base, not anything that's
sought out.
So I really sought out anything that was like, quote unquote fun, what I thought was fun, but really it was just chaos and like toxicity and just whatever wasn't allowed. So I would like skip school. Basically, my mom's only agenda was get good grades, get into a good university, follow the path that we all followed, and become a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. And
I'm sorry, but I'm desperately want to say a Spanish girl that seeks out toxicity.
Yeah,
no,
I know.
That's not
Little
true.
Wild,
I've
right?
never heard that.
Yeah,
listen, I was married to a Puerto Rican. Okay.
It's like that's our element.
It's
our element. Like is
she was
to
happiest when there was chaos.
That's
she could complain.
I know
because
this.
I just want peace. I want peace.
I know this. They will create it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not above it. There was a lot of years of my life where if things were going good, God, I don't even want to say it, but sabotage. I would like create, I would create something. I would sabotage it and create something because
some women do that.
And now, but listen, thankfully now I'm at peace.
No, you're all better. It was a bad time.
It's a bad time. It's a lot of bad years.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know they were bad because I was having fun. I was having a great time. So in the midst of all this, I started dating, I started finding an attraction to guys that were just douchebags and that had
bad boys.
Yeah, bad boys. The very, very classic bad boy. And I met a Russian, and how much more bad can you get than a Russian who just came to this country a few years ago, has all these like illicit businesses that you don't know what's going on.
And how old
they
is he?
have I met him when I was 17.
How old was he?
He's 4 years older than me, so he was 21.
Okay.
And he had only been here like maybe, I don't know, a year or so when I met him. But everybody told me the way I met him was because my best friend was Russian, and a lot of those people
they click up in or what do you call it? Not groups, but communities.
Yeah, right, communities, exactly. So there was like a little Russian community, and my best friend and I were in high school. We went to a party that was one of her parents' friend's son. The parents were out of town, and the son was having a house party. And so I met this Russian, and I met him at the party, and I thought he was just like super mysterious and powerful. And he had this big S500 Mercedes, black with, dark, like just all these things, and plus I'm like 17 and he's 21. And so the car alone was just like, very impressive. Your standards back then are the checklist is very superficial. So I saw this car, I saw him, he was attractive, nobody was dating him, so he wasn't like some jock at the school that was passed around, and I was like, I like him. And my best friend was like, stay away from him completely because he is trouble, he's bad news. And I was like, why? And she couldn't give me an answer. She couldn't tell me why. She just said that her parents said that him and his family were bad news. And I was like, okay, so that made him more attractive. So at that point, I was like, okay, I got to figure him out, I ended up leaving the party that night, and he actually cut me off in my car, and he was like, hey, where are you going? And I was like, home. And he was like, well, you want to go hang out? And I was like, yeah.
Do I?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this for like the last half hour. Yes, I do. So we went and hung out. Nothing crazy happened. We just dated for like a couple, not even a month, maybe like around a month. We talked on the phone. I was still going to school, so I wasn't, going on trips or anything with him. I was young. But we would talk on the phone all the time. I would sneak out to go see him. I would spend the weekends hanging out with him. And we hadn't even had sex or anything. Like we were just, little kid type of stuff. And
he's waiting for you to be 18. No,
basically, maybe, man, I don't know. But then even before that happened, he disappeared. The guy just disappeared one day, just no more answering the phone.
It's an international intrigue story.
Yeah, it is because but then I got pissed because after he disappeared for long enough, I was like, I asked everybody like, where is he? Katie, where is he? Everybody, where is he? Nobody knew where he was. Nobody knew anything about his whereabouts. I couldn't go ask his parents because they didn't know me. So I just left it at that, and I chalked it up to like, oh, he has a wife somewhere, and he just was like using me for that month for I don't know what. And I mean,
jail
basically. So he ended up fleeing the country. But I didn't know this. Okay, he was gone for about 4 years. One night at a club, I never forgot him, by the way, Matt. I never forgot him. He always was in my heart. I was like, this fucker's going to appear one day somewhere. Like, this guy's going to come back. And so I just thought he was like my Prince Charming out there. And one day I was at the club. 4 years have gone by. I'm pulling in the valet. And because, we valeted back then because I don't know why I had a Mitsubishi Eclipse. So I don't know why I'm valeting. But I was valeting with my friends. We're getting out of the car. There's a big S500 black Mercedes in front of me, but it's a newer body style. And I see it. And the car forever stuck with me as like his car. It's like when you smell cologne or perfume and you're like, or hear a song, you're like, remember that time? So when I see an S500 Mercedes, it's him. It's always him. So it's black. And I'm like, oh man, him, And then I see a dude coming out of the club, walking to that car, and I swear to everything, it's his entire silhouette. And I'm like, Katie, because it's still my best friend Katie. I'm like, that's him. That's him. And she's like, no. But anyways, I couldn't get a good look. There was like columns and pillars and all kinds of stuff. And then he got in the car fast. And so I just tried to forget about it that night. I asked some people. Nobody would give me like a clear answer. And I was just like, what are the chances? Like, there's no way. Because it's been 4 years now. You got to think it's been a long time. So after that.
What's his name?
His name's Gia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say it a little while ago, but I was like, if I say Gia, then people might be like, what did she say? What? Giya. So, yeah. Okay. So, his name's Gregorian, but anyways. So, yeah. So
very Russian.
Very, very, very. That car left the club. I went in. I tried to party. I did. I kind of try to forget about it because I was like, I'm a crazy person. Like there's no way it was him. I ended up going back to the apartment that Katie, my best friend, and I shared. And all of a sudden, around 3:30 in the morning, there's a knock, and I'm like, huh? And we're both a little drunk. I don't know how we survived back then without DUIs and stuff, or like killing anybody because. Anyways, I don't know how any of us survived. Anybody my age, it's like 40, survived those times without getting trafficked or like killed or so. We drove home and we were a little tipsy, and I'm like, who the hell's at our door at this time? And I'm thinking maybe it's like somebody for Katie or something. So I look through the peephole, and I swear again it's this guy. It's that silhouette, but I can't see him very well. It's kind of dark. I see it, and I'm like, so I crack the door, and I have a little chain on, and he's like, hey, baby. And I'm like, what? And it was him. So and he has, man, I got it. Like when we're done, I have to show you a video so you can hear his voice, because you have to really like conceptualize this, because he has this heavy ass accent. And so anyway, so he's like, hey, baby. And I'm like, oh my God.
That doesn't sound sexy.
It doesn't. It sounds so corny, but it was sexy. I promise it was sexy. So I open the door, and I'm instantly flooded with like, holy shit, I'm so happy to see you. Holy shit, I have another boyfriend. Holy shit, where did you go? Like, where have you been? You're an asshole, and how are you back? Like, everything's just so weird. And I'm drunk, so,
I feel like this guy looks like Drago from Rocky 3. Do you know who Drago is?
I don't know who that is, but what does he look like?
Are you serious? In Rocky 3, the Russian from Rocky 3?
No, but is he like...
He's like 6'4".
Can I please just show you him real quick?
Sure,
I'm going to pause it.
Can we use a picture of him in here or no?
Yeah, you can use a picture of him. He got murdered a year ago, and before he got murdered...
Look, this is Drago.
No, he does. He's dark, but I'll show you. He was before he got murdered. I was doing that VH1 thing, and he was like super excited about it. He was like, yeah, I want to be on there, put my pictures, I'm gonna be famous, baby, and all this stuff. So he does like literally not care at all. If he was here, he would tell you that, and I know it.
Listen.
Hey, baby, what's up? Are you okay? What happened to you, man? You got lost. Just write me sometime or something, man. Talk to me. Don't fucking don't get up. I will kill you, motherfucker. Don't you understand, motherfucker? Sit your pussy down, man. I'll fucking do it. Sit your bitch ass down. I'll tell you when to get up.
No, he was like real deal. I tell people, I'm like, he's really a mafia guy. And that was part of the attraction, because he was so nice to me. He'll be like, hey, baby. Yeah, it was serious. Mm-hmm.
So okay.
I didn't know that was at the end. I was trying to find one. I mean, I'm sure I've heard it, but
yeah, that was good. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, it does. So do you want to pick,
Yes.
So that's what he looks like.
Oh my, you know who he looks like? Joseph Vitale.
Send a
Looks
picture.
just like, look, even that. Is that not a Vitale picture?
So that is him. That is Gia. And he came in, circling back to the apartment. He's at the apartment door. I'm excited. I'm also a little pissed that you've been missing for 4 years. And it's just all confusing. So he comes in. At first I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then I'm like, I want to be like that tough woman. Like, I'm not just going to fall for you again. Like, what the hell? And why? And how did you even find everything's going through my head. Like, how did you even find where I'm at right now? How do you know where my apartment is? So anyways, he ends up telling me that he was fleeing the country because he got in some legal problems. He didn't go too much into detail, but he said that there, somebody was hurt. I found out later that, somebody was hurt. Somebody was like stabbed. They ended up in a wheelchair. Then they wouldn't testify against him. So that's why he came back. They paid him a bunch of like weird, shady dealings. So he ended up coming back, and he was here, and he just never forgot me, and he just loved me all these years and always thought about me and whatever. And so I'm trying to be like all hard and tough, but of course I'm like, okay, I never forgot you either. And I'm like, all right, yeah. So I'm excited. I'm like, this is like some kind of mafia love story. And
those always end up well.
To be fair, all the movies I watched, all the, casinos and all the,
didn't end up well.
Everything, all the classic, Goodfellas and mob movies, I always almost idolized that wife role, that mob wife role, even though they went through shit, they got cheated on, they got like abused, all this stuff. I just saw it as like, I had this thing where I was just enamored with powerful guys who were like very feared by others, but were super nice to me. And he like me, fit that baby. Mold.
Like me. That's us. That's us. That's our dynamic.
Like, I thought him walking into a room or walking down the street and people being like, you know, was like a great thing. But then he's like, oh, you know, because he actually was really nice to me. Like, he was never abusive. He never talked to me bad. He was just never mean or forceful or aggressive with me at all. I don't even really honestly can remember many times when we got into an argument, like even just, you know, a verbal argument. He would usually let me have it. He would give me whatever I wanted. He was just really nice to me. And it wasn't like a honeymoon phase thing either, because when we did end up dating again, we ended up dating for quite a few years, and he was like that the whole time. So anyways, it was really hard to break loose from that because he was good to me. So I overlooked a lot of things he was doing in life. I started slowly finding out things like he had
the extortion, kidnappings, and murders. That's
well, you know, listen,
that's his work life.
I didn't, and you know what? I promise you, that's how I thought about him. I was like, I'm not doing it. It's not me. I'm not there. I'm not present. I'm not a part of it.
You don't have to convince me. I'm okay with the crime.
All right. Because I was like, I literally don't know what's going on over there, but I just love you. So just leave that over there, and I'm just going to keep living over here.
Sometimes you're going to dinner. You can hear the guy kicking in the trunk, but you just put that aside.
You put it aside.
You compartmentalize the fact
I
that
was
there's a guy
so
tied
good
up
at
in the
compartmentalizing.
Trunk. I hear you.
So good. Yeah, actually things like that happen. It's funny that you actually use those examples. So then something like this would happen, right? So just so you can see what I'm looking at, I would see his, he had a business. He had a mortgage company. Or so I thought.
Scumbag.
So I thought, right?
I can deal with the kidnappings, the extortion. But a mortgage broker?
This is like his office, right? Now, he's not a mortgage broker. He's just, you know, he owns it just says Amerifund Mortgage Inc. on the sign. That's what I see. I think it's a mortgage company. I mean, okay, so I go to the office several times and I'm like, so that's the picture of the office. And I'm like, there's nobody, like, where are your employees? There's nobody in here. It's a desk. There's like one phone that has a long cord to a wall. There's like 2 chairs and maybe like a half a computer, like the keyboard or something. Where is everybody and where is everything? Where are your filing cabinets? And he's like, oh, they're out. They're buying. It was under the guise that like they were buying foreclosed homes. Like that's the properties they would buy. They would rehab them and then they would sell them, put them back on the market, rent them, whatever. So I believed it, and I was like, oh, they're all out, you know, on the field, out in the field or whatever. Site, They're on site getting these foreclosed homes. And so I started noticing weird things. No employees, a weird office. Then you have like a mechanic shop, but I don't ever see anyone like bringing a car and getting it fixed. I just see cars going in and then I don't see them coming back out. And I'm like, well, that's odd. When's the owner going to pick up their car? So I'm starting to actually think now. This is before I started hearing people kicking in trunks and stuff like that. So I'm starting to think like things are strange because for a while in the beginning, I actually thought that these businesses were legit and that's how they made their money. I didn't know criminals. I didn't grow up around them. I just did not think. I thought criminals looked like, you know, people in alleys with guns and like hoods and stuff. So
the prosecutors describe that as willful blindness. But go ahead.
Yeah. I would say
all the signs were there, but you didn't allow yourself to.
And like since nothing was directly affecting me, I didn't care to investigate more. I was like, this is so. So I basically this went on for a couple years, and there came a point when one day I was at the house and he called me, and let me back up. About 3 weeks before this incident that I was about to explain. It was maybe 5, 6 in the morning, and I had been asleep all night like a normal person, and I hear a lot of ruckus in the garage, and we have this in our home, and I hear a lot of ruckus in the garage. At this point, I've like distanced myself from my family because they think he's not a good person, so I'm isolated from them. I've isolated from all my friends. I've dropped out of college, and I'm just like with this guy in our own little world that nobody likes. And so I hear all this ruckus in the garage, and I get up. And when I go out there, I see him and a couple of other Russian guys speaking in Russian and moving a lot of equipment. I mean, equipment like this, like, you know, just tech type of stuff, but it looks like it all came from like a club, like club type of things, big, huge speakers, a big like turntable type of setup, things like that, and a lot of it. So I'm like, what's going on? And it wasn't that I wasn't used to things coming in the garage, because from the homes that were being rehabbed, there was always like refrigerators and stoves and things like that coming through, because they were fixing the homes, right? So I was used to seeing a lot of appliances and things around. But anyways, it was like they were moving fast. They were talking, fast, and it all just felt a little shady. So I was like, what's going on? He was like, oh, baby, go back to sleep, baby. So I was like, okay. So I went back to sleep. I left it alone. I didn't really think much of it. Soon after that, maybe like a day or two, I was like, what was going on in the garage? And finally, he was like, okay, this guy borrowed money from me. He had an after hours club, because it was very big for the Russian community to all have like little after hour spots. Gia had one as well. He had an after hours club as well. His wasn't like a little spot. It was like a club. Like he had a big club. So he basically was like, this guy borrowed money from me because his club wasn't doing well. So he had this big club, and he said that this guy that had like a smaller spot was doing really bad, and he needed a little loan. So I guess we're in loan sharking too now. But anyways, he loaned him the money. He didn't pay it back. So he went and he took all his shit.
Yeah.
He took all his expensive equipment. You can't run the spot without the equipment. And he took it all. And if he had to, he would just sell it and get his money back. So I was like, so that was the first moment that he like actually admitted something criminal directly to me face to face.
Right.
And that was the moment that, a normal person would be like, oh shit, like you're just outright saying it, because once you kind of open the door and start revealing yourself to people, it's not like the mask is slipping. Like you're telling them now, and now they're starting to, my standards were lowering. Like I'm finding these things acceptable. I'm okay with it, and I'm staying. So now I'm complicit in this now.
But that's how you rope someone in, is you give them a little piece. And that's what happened. You don't walk in and say, I got 14 businesses, they're all criminal. That's
exactly to the T what happened. Shortly after that, about 3 weeks, he ended up calling me one day. It was, in the afternoon, middle of the day. And he ended up saying, baby, I've been shot. I know that baby startled you, right? It startled the hell out of me too. So when he called me and that happened, I was like, you've been what? Shot? Like I never even been to a funeral at this point. I didn't know anybody that's died. I didn't know anybody that's been shot. Like
right.
this is I'm not in this life. So I'm like, you've been shot? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, where the hell are you? So he ends up telling me where he's at. He ends up pulling over. I go to meet him. When I get to the place where his car is parked, he's moved to the passenger seat. He is holding his arm. It looks like it's just gone straight through. And he's holding it. He's got his shirt tied around it, and he's bleeding pretty bad. And at this point, I'm like, okay, so let's go to the hospital. And he's like, no hospitals. And I'm like, oh, shit. Here's that stuff I see in the movies. The Goodfellas, the casino movies, no hospital.
Right.
This is
wasn't
not
a robbery
good.
that you can explain. So did you ask what happened?
I did not at that moment say I was trying. He was kind of going in and out. It wasn't in and out of like consciousness, but it was just in and out of like, shit, this hurts. Like, leave me the fuck alone, type of thing. So I didn't want to be like super naggy at that moment. I wanted to make sure he was safe and okay, and I knew I would get the details later, or so I thought. So I did ask him what happened, and he said someone shot him, which obviously I could see that. But I didn't push it much more. Gun. Yeah. So I end up leaving my car there. I end up driving him home. I get him in the shower when we get home. I put a chair in there. He sits down, kind of washing everything off. He's just kind of sitting there like this. At this point, he's like, baby, get the stuff out of my car. Please go burn it. Take all these clothes that he just took off, burn them. And I'm like, okay, go burn the clothes. Man, I'm getting in this shit deep. So I get the clothes. I go outside. I burn them. I go in the car, make sure there's nothing else in there. I find a boulder, like not a boulder. I guess a boulder is huge, like a piece of concrete like this, and it has blood on it. And not like a speckle, like a lot, like a big piece of blood on this huge rock cement thing. So I take that, I try to put it in the burn pit, and anyways, I burn everything. So now another thing has happened, So now these things are happening. And so a couple days go by, he does finally end up telling me that he went to go do a drug deal. He ended up, he's now telling me that he's selling, which he was. He actually got caught, got caught by the feds, bringing it from New York to Florida. And he disappeared one time in the midst of our relationship for like 2 or 3 days. And I didn't know where he was. And his mom said that he was like on a little mini like vacay with his brother who needed to do something for like like medically do something with his brother. And those people were very like, they were very secretive and stuff. And especially women, like you don't ask a lot of questions. So when she said like the dad, the brother and him went to go do something that was medically necessary for the brother, that was just it. But really he was in jail in Georgia in a federal detention center in Georgia. I don't know a lot about feds, but it was a federal detention center in Georgia in Fulton, I think.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably.
I'm trying to remember because we went to
Atlanta City Detention Center, ACDC.
Yeah, I don't.
Whatever.
It was something federal. There was like 3 cars, and they were coming from New York, and they each had heroin in them. And he was in the last car, but he did not have heroin in his. But they were all together, and I guess they could like prove it or whatever.
At the very least, they could hold him. For a little bit.
And that's what happened. So they ended up holding him for like 3, I think maybe 4 days. And when he had disappeared, So anyways, I ended up finding out about that, like the truth about that. And he totally said like it really wasn't his, whatever, he was just making a little money off the side, being like security escorting. And I'm like, you're not security type. So this doesn't make sense. But so I'm finding out all these things, just like you said, I'm finding out little by little now the shooting thing. And what ended up happening was I ended up becoming involved because when the shooting happened, okay, because I had to give you the backstory. Because a lot of times people, they know my story about being a cat burglar, but they don't know how I really got there and why. Like I didn't just wake up, the daughter of 2 doctors who had a good education and a good future and say, I'm going to start robbing people for their shit all over Florida. Like it's crazy. So I ended up getting into it like this. He wanted to go get back his stuff from this guy who he was doing a drug deal with. The guy supposedly ended up saying he was going to buy a large amount of. But when Gia got there, the guy ended up pulling a gun on him, shooting him, and taking the drugs and not paying him. So Gia was very pissed off, and he wanted to go get his money, his drugs, and beat the guy up and like whatever, just get payback all around, however he could. I, like the noble girlfriend, Bonnie and Clyde, that I was at the moment, said, I'm going with you. And I'm going to be the driver because
let's go get this guy.
Let's go get this fucker and get all your shit back. And I'm going to drive you because who's going to look out better than me? Like your friends aren't going to do it. They don't care. They're going to haul ass if they see the guy or pull out with a gun or something like that. So I'm like, I'm going. I'm driving. He's like, no. And I'm like, yes, I'm going. So I went. So I drove him. I drove him to the house. But the house wasn't just any house. It was a trap house because that's the only house he knew the guy to have because that's where the guy was selling drugs out of. So he didn't know like his personal residence. So he tells me to stay in the car and he's like very adamant about it. Like stay in the car. And I stay in the car for like 30 seconds. And then I start looking around. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm in the hood. I'm in the real, like the thick of the hood. It was the hood like where they sell drugs out the crack of the window that has just the board on it. You don't even see a face. I don't know if there's like guns pointed out the windows. I'm looking for lasers and stuff. I'm freaking.
Like New Jack City.
Yes. I'm freaking out, man. I am freaking. Okay. No.
No.
You don't know what New Jack City is?
New Jack
Jesus.
City. No. Clue.
Actually, that was a good one.
Vice City. Jesus. New Jack City. Anyway, okay. Well, I'll send you the trailer.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes.
Actually, that was a good one. That was a
great movie.
That was a good one. And it tells you a lot about what things that actually happened, like
the crack epidemic, how it expanded, blew up, how they did.
Wait, what was the one with Denzel with the heroin? How the heroin blew up? Remember?
Oh yeah. You're talking about American Gangster.
Did you see that one, American Gangster? Okay, because that one has some.
I don't know about that. But anyway,
that one's not true.
No, I'm saying I've seen some of that.
Okay.
I think he's seen a clip.
Yeah, maybe he saw the commercial or like in a TikTok someone referenced it. Like
he saw
American
a meme.
Gangster. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm in the car for 30 seconds and I'm starting to trip out because I'm looking around and I'm just realizing that I'm in the car by myself when he was next to me with his protection and
I was going to say, it's easy to be a gangster when you were living in the upper middle class condo.
Easy. Absolutely.
But when you drove down the hood, you realized.
When I drove down the hood and he's
no.
not in the car anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I'm freaking out. So I'm like, oh hell no. So what do? I think it's a better idea to get out of the car and be more visible and follow him. So I do that. I get out the car and I mean, it's nighttime. So it's not like super late, but it is nighttime. So I'm trying to be sneaky and I go in the direction that I saw him go in. I mean, there's only like a couple houses over there, but I saw where he went. So I go in that same direction. And when I go, like I round the house, the corner of the house, I see that there's a window open and I know he's gone in that window. Everything looks dark in there. So I mean, it all makes sense. So I thank God it made sense because I would have hated to gone into somebody's house. It wasn't his. So I go in and he's like, what the fuck are you doing in here? Like, what is going on? You're supposed to stay in the car or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm here. And I was scared. So I'm here. Okay. And now that's just what it is. So he's like, fuck it. So we're in there. We don't find a lot. We find some bags of weed. I don't know a lot about weed, but in just like, for reference, it was maybe like a few sandwich bags of weed, full, like stuffed full. So not anything out of this world. But I thought it was a good thing. I was like, yeah, you got all this weed. Like I thought it was a big score. So we take it. There was some money in there too, but it wasn't a lot. We leave, but now this has like opened the gates. Like now, like this was the catalyst to everything else that would come. This was right. This is just fast tracking my everything that would come after. And basically I, at that point was like, I was desensitized. I was okay now with going into strangers' homes, taking their shit, but at this point I was still feeling like they deserved it. They're drug dealers. Like we're not following the letter of the law because none of us are. Yeah. I'm robbing you. You're selling drugs.
These aren't patriots.
Yeah. Right. So what does it matter? So that kind of made it a little different, but he started saying, letting me know all the people that he needed to get back money from, drugs from, whatever, people that had done him wrong. He never flat out admitted that he was just like robbing people just for the fuck of it, but he was. And it finally, so this went on for some months, maybe like 6 months or so. It got
where he's burglarizing houses or robbing people.
Robbing people. It's all drug dealers. Like it's not the burglary like what I was doing.
Right.
He's robbing drug dealers for their drugs or their money.
Okay.
He's either going to their traps or he's robbing them face to face, like with the gun, like give me your shit type of stuff. So as this is happening, I'm always the driver. I'm always there. And there finally comes a day when he tells me that he's met a guy and it's a really good lick. And, but in my mind, it's also weird because he's got business. Like, even if all the other businesses are bullshit and they're just fronts or whatever, which they were, the After Hours Club, people are paying to get in there. They're buying beer and wine. He doesn't have a liquor license, but they're buying beer and wine. He's making money. Like, you don't have to do this, but he was just addicted to this lifestyle. So it finally came a point where he said he met a guy and it was a really good lick. The guy was coming into the After Hours Club, and he was like a little young guy who had rich parents, flashing a lot of money, buying big amounts of drugs and selling them. And he wanted to get this guy because it was just too easy not to get him and whatever. I drove him there. He ended up going in. A couple minutes later, he's running out with duffel bags. I'm pulling out of the driveway like, because the guy's running out of the house, and the guy has a shotgun. So I'm in the driveway, like I'm pulled in the driveway like this, like my headlights are facing his house. He has a truck that's backed into the driveway with the headlights facing out. So him and I are like this in the driveway, right? So as I'm pulling out, he's jumping in his car with the shotgun and he's going forward. So we're nose to nose, like pulling backwards. I mean, I'm a little bit, further than him, and I just keep going. And this guy's shooting through the windshield and Gia's like, baby, duck. And I'm like, I'm fucking driving. Like I can't duck. I'm driving backwards at that.
Right.
Then the bullet go, because shotgun bullets, they go like.
They spread, yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage. I'm like, what the fuck kind of bullet is this? It broke the whole windshield. It went through the back. It busted like the whole headrest, the whole middle thing. Anyways, it was very intense. It was very crazy. I ended up pulling into some random person's driveway, turning off the lights, and it just looked like, I guess, a car that lived there. And we lost him. I think Gia probably would have got out and beat him up with his own gun because the guy was not like the most huge.
But he did have a shotgun.
But he did have a shotgun.
Yeah.
He did have a shotgun. But Gia was crazy too. Like he would run up on a shot. Like I think his just pure psychoticness of what he was willing to do was it caused a lot of intimidation for people because they're like, crazy people are sometimes more dangerous than the badasses.
Yeah.
So that was the one event that was like, okay, now we're robbing people. So things are going in steps here. Now we're robbing people just because they're good licks. One night after about 6 more months of doing all of this, now drugs, robbing people, the club life, all this stuff, going fast nowhere. I end up getting a craving for like some candy one night. So I get in my car and I drive to a gas station, which is down the street from where we live, where our home is. When you come out of our neighborhood, out of our subdivision, you can turn left or right and it's just a 2-way street. But down half a mile down, there's a little gas station. So I get in my car and I go. as I get in my car, I get the things, I get the gummies. They were Lifesaver berry gummies. And I leave the gas station. And as I'm leaving, I really want to eat one. So I go to grab it, but it falls off the car, off the seat and onto the floorboard. So I bend down to grab it. And when I bend down to grab it, I come back up and I'm just like kind of drifting off into the shoulder, and it's like a little two-way road. So I'm drifting off into the shoulder and I panic because there's like trees and a big ditch, and I overcorrect. And when I overcorrect, I spin out, I fishtail, I spin out, and
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I spin out and then I fly, I like go off the ditch, like kind of, because the ditch is really, I go off and I kind of go over the ditch into some trees. I'm not like off the ground, but I'm just like lodged in between some trees. I can't open the door. So I go out the sunroof, and lo and behold, there was like a forest ranger who saw it and was going to work and pulled over and called the police for me. And I was like, thank you, whatever. He was like, just wait for him. So they get there. I'm at the same time, I'm calling Gia. They have like a truck that has tow capacity and like one of those things that pull it. And so I know they can hook it up and like get it out. So when that happened, so I'm thinking, okay, they can do that. We don't need a tow truck. The car is probably a little fucked, but they have like the mechanic shop, so at least they can fix it. They got to have something there they can fix it with. So the cops get there and they run my information, and then they tell me to turn around and they put me in cuffs. And they're like, you're under arrest. And I'm like, the fuck? I just wanted some gummy savers. Why am I under arrest? And they're like, you have a warrant out for burglary. And I'm like, what? So I won't bore you with all the details of this, but in the beginning, before I really knew everything that was going on, I ended up pawning some things. I also, there were several things that happened. They ended up raiding the house that we had, and it was in my name. There were stolen things there. Apparently, the appliances that I kept seeing coming and going, they were from homes that were being vandalized or burned down, insurance fraud. And the appliances would be taken out, then they would claim them, they would get the money for them, and then they would just resell them or put them in new homes that they actually were going to rehab. So but the burglary that night in particular, the issue was I had a burglary and a false verification to a pawnbroker because I sold some little, like, I'm telling you, Matt, literally $100, $200 worth of shit jewelry, like little dinky chains and like a ring that he said they found in a house that they had foreclosed on, somebody left behind. Like, what are we going to do with it? Just go get a couple $100, like whatever we can do, throw it away. We're not going to wear it. So I was like, yeah, for sure. So I just went and got a couple $100 for it, and that was it. So I pawned that. And so this warrant was, at that moment, was for that. I went to jail. I got bonded out. When I got bonded out, by my mom, and
I was
she
just thinking, what are your parents thinking at this point? And okay,
so my mom is like, now I have kept my distance big time, like big time. Every I told you in the world, very upset, very disappointed because like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why from every angle? I mean, just God, why? And so basically, my mom was like, I'm going to get you an attorney. I'm going to bond you out, but there's going to be some conditions. You can't see the guy. You cannot go back to that house. Whatever's there, it's a loss. Like, just, it's gone. Chalk it up. It's gone. We'll get you new stuff. It's done. Even the car is even gone. Just let it all go. So I want to get the fuck out of jail. So I'm like, hell yeah, where do I sign? Like, let's do it. I won't see anybody. I won't whatever. But
why didn't you call Gia?
I did call him. I did, but I there was no answer. I couldn't find him. I couldn't nothing. I didn't.
You guys are living together though.
I couldn't find him. That I could. I'm gonna tell you where he was, but I couldn't find him. So, what happened was my mom picked me up, and I'm very sad at this point because I'm like, damn, I thought he flaked on me. Like, I'm feeling like, damn, you just left me to rot in this shit, But also, like, it just wasn't really his character that he would just leave me like that. Like, at least he would send somebody to bond me out. This was just very weird. So what happened was part of the conditions, I couldn't have contact with him, and I was so scared to go back to jail. I did not call him after I was in jail. I called him from jail, but he didn't answer. I didn't call him after I got out when I went to my mom's. I ended up going to a rehab facility. They wanted me to detox and go to a rehab as part of the conditions that my mom had. And the bondsman said that I had to do it too. And then my lawyer said it would look good for the judge. So first time being in trouble ever. So go to rehab. Let's, make this look the best we can. So I did go to rehab. While I was in rehab, I get a visit. My third week there, it was a month rehab. My third week there, I get a visit, and I don't know who it is, and it's very weird because visitation's always on Sunday, and it's from like whatever time, I don't remember, to 3:00. And I know when my mom's coming, and she wasn't coming that day. So I was like, this is strange. So I end up going out to like the lobby area because they called and said I had a visit over the speaker. And when I get to the lobby area, I see a big white S500 Mercedes in the parking lot. And his brother, Armin, always has the white Mercedes, and he always has the black one. So I'm like, no. So as I'm walking through the lobby, I see the door open to the Mercedes, and I see Armin getting out. And so I hurry up and walk out there because I'm scared. I don't want to go back to jail, man. But I'm still... I'm curious, and we haven't had closure. Like, I went to go get gummies, and now I haven't seen you for almost a month. And we were like in it, thick, deep, So
right.
I go out there, and Armin's like, hey, Gia's in the car. I haven't made it to the car yet. He's like, Gia's in the car, and there's something going on, and you need to know about it, and whatever. He's fleeing the country. So I go, I look, I try to act like, not seeing him because I feel like there's bondsmen watching me from the bushes and shit. I don't know how this works. I've never been in trouble. So I'm like, oh my God. He's like, baby, I'm sorry. But right after I got arrested, he got arrested too. And when he got arrested for all the shit in the house and all the things. And then he was on bond for, he had bonded out. I don't know a lot about that federal thing.
Right.
But so like, I don't know, when we were talking earlier, if he was just detained. He was out on bond, but I don't know what they had because they didn't find anything in the car. So I don't know how all that works. It felt like with that federal thing, like with the state, you have to have evidence. Like you have to say like, here, this is what it is. It felt like with that federal thing, they could just say like, hey, we think you did it. So that's it. Because that's how it felt, like the way he was describing it. I know he probably wasn't being totally truthful, but that's what it felt like. So the federal thing plus that arrest with the house and everything, like it was just all coming down on him, and he knew he was about to get like some serious time for a lot of stuff, and everything was about to explode, and he was fleeing the country. They did arrest him. He did end up bonding out, but with the state thing, but he wanted to leave before the federal thing. Whatever the mess was, he was locked up for a little bit of time. Then he was like paranoid, and now he's saying, I'm fleeing the country, please come with me. And
oh, shit.
I was like, oh man. Cause I mean, it sounded exciting for a second. Like, I love you. And like, I know you can take care of me even if you're killing people so we can eat, but okay. Like, yeah, but I don't want to be on the run for the rest of my life. And I felt so bad for my mom, and I'm going to be in a country where I don't speak the language, and I'm totally dependent on you. And like,
he said he was going back to Russia.
He said he was going back to Russia. So I was like, fuck, man. So
do you have a passport?
I do have a passport. Yeah, I've had a passport since, I used to go back to Spain. My mom's from Barcelona, Spain. So I used to go to Spain every summer, and my dad's, so I had my passport, and it was up to date and everything. And so I could have gone with him right that second, and he wanted me to, like, he wanted me to go inside and get whatever I wanted to get, come back to that Mercedes, get in the car, and let's get out of here. And he had a way, he had fled the country already before and come back. Like, he knew how to get in and out. So it's not like we were going to Delta and saying, can we get 2 tickets to Russia, please? Like, like he had his own little ways or whatever. So I was like, no, and it was very, very hard, and I was very sad. And I kind of knew at that moment, like, if I said no and he got in the car and drove away, I'd probably never see him again. And that was the end of that love story, and like, whatever, but probably for the best. So I said no, and I waved and I cried. And then as the car was pulling off, I was crying. Oh man, it was like something out of a movie. I was like, and I walked away, and I was like, and then I went and cried in my pillow. It was like so fun. Oh, it was so ridiculous. So anyways, I would see the fucker again. So whatever. But basically, that was it. That chapter closed for a long time. And I got out of, I become addicted again. And when I become full-blown addicted, I need money, because I can't just go say, hey, mom, I dropped out of college and dated a Russian mobster and went to jail. Can I please get like $5,000 so I can support this pill habit that's expensive? for the next couple weeks. Like, no. And I was working, but it wasn't like I was a receptionist, like a law firm or something. I was in my early, like mid 20s at this point. I was not doing shit with my life. But I was working, but it just wasn't enough money. And I was starting over. The house I had with him was gone. The car was gone. Everything was gone. And I was starting over and I'm living with my mom. It wasn't very exciting. So I was like, well, what do I know how to do to get fast money is to break into people's homes. So this is what sounded like a great idea to me. It sounded like a good plan. But the only problem was I'm not going to go break into a drug dealer's home and his trap house because I'm going to get literally like, I can't even pull into that neighborhood without somebody being like, what the fuck?
And then what are you going to
and then what am I going to do? Get drugs and I'm going to resell.
Right.
So it's like the whole thing. So now I'm like, okay, I need a plan to do the same kind of thing where I can get money quickly, but it has to be efficient and effective for my lifestyle because I have to, I have to be able to fit in wherever I'm robbing. I have to be able to, it has to be lucrative enough. It has to be something that I can offload. And if it's not cash, like what am I going to do? So I figured, okay, well, I'll break into rich people's homes. My parents are rich. My parents' friends are rich. My friends' parents are rich. I know how rich people live. They always have like a little bank envelope somewhere in their house because an emergency is going to happen in Florida. The bank's going to close. There's going to be a hurricane. They always have at least a couple, like $5 grand in an envelope in their closet somewhere or in their drawer. They always have nice jewelry. Rich husbands, gift their rich wives. Gift their wives or whomever, nice things, the bigger the price tag. So whatever. So I knew you'd have nice jewelry. I knew these rich people would have a little stack of money somewhere and maybe they'd have more valuable things. And I know that I'm not going to look out of place in a neighborhood like that because I can make myself fit in. So I'm just going to make provisions to fit into the neighborhood, have the right vehicle, have the right setup, have the right story, have the right, clothing, everything, all that. And basically what I thought was, okay, I don't have the muscle, so I'm by myself. Let me do this in a way that's going to be smart and reasonable for me. And I had never burglarized a home by myself, so I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't know the obstacles I was going to run into, but I knew that I would figure it out along the way, and that's exactly what happened. So only thing I knew from movies, literally this had no benefit to it, was that you leave shoe prints and you leave DNA behind, and that's how they get you. That's what I saw on the TV shows, and so I wasn't going to leave DNA behind, and I wasn't going to leave my shoe print, which is ridiculous because no cops are sending DNA people and shoe footprint people to go look for a burglar, okay? Right. Unless you're robbing like the president or like unless someone's murdered. So I wore shoes that were always a size too small or a size too big. And I always tied my hair back really tight, and I had gloves. I figured if I had all that, I was at least good. It was like the starter kit. I ended up eventually getting like a little tool set that had like a cutter. It didn't cut glass, but people would be surprised that in Florida, a lot of windows, they're not like reinforced. They're not strong. They're like single pane windows.
Right.
And they break. I mean, they're just not strong windows, and it's like a super modern home. So I realized that with this little tool thing that I had, I went in and I told the guy, hey, if my home's on fire at the supply store, if my home's on fire and I need to get out a window and I can't break it, do you have something that can break it? And he showed me this little like thing, and it had these 3 little tools. And like the first one, like you whip them out like this. And the first one was like something that made like an outline, like a scratch in glass.
Yeah.
The second one was like a little hammer thing. And the third one was like a little suction cup. So I just figured I'd use all of them whenever I could, however I could. And I started learning and I started practicing, and I realized some of them, when you hit them, they shatter. And then some of them, they don't. Some of them, you can suck the whole thing out. My whole point was not to separate the magnets on the alarms. So I was like, okay, don't separate the magnets on the alarms. Just go through take the glass out and walk in, but don't separate the magnets. Okay, check. Okay, but now we have motion detectors. How do we make sure that the motion detectors aren't going to detect me? Well, they need to have an animal. If they have an animal, the animal's walking around.
They don't have motion detectors. Probably.
Rich people they don't have pit bulls and in a crate somewhere. They have a golden doodle or a Frenchie or a lab walking around, and he's wagging his tail even if you're burglarizing their home.
Right.
So I just needed there to be some kind of animal. And then I knew that the motion detectors would be off. I knew that because I grew up with golden retrievers, and my mom would always make it a point to turn
off.
A point to turn. My mom would always make it a point to turn the sensors off in those zones so Indy could walk around.
Right.
So, okay, animal, check. How am I going to know if there's an animal? Okay, look for things. Toys outside, little water bowl, look through a window. Rich people, you will not believe how so many rich people have the little sign right on the front door, right by the doorbell, right by the freaking handle of the front door. It says, in case of an emergency or in case of fire, rescue my dog or cat. Willie, rescue Willie. Okay. So now I don't even have to look because you just told me Willie's in your house walking around.
Right.
So check. Okay. Now,
we put a lot more thought into this than most burglars that I.
Well,
most
you know,
of them like smash and grab, right?
Right. But I didn't want to go to jail. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to jail. So I wanted to make sure that I had provisions in place in case I ran into one of these things. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to ring the doorbell and I'm going to, hopefully nobody answers. But if somebody answers, what am I going to say? Okay, what am I going to say? I go to my mom's office and I work a lot. In her doctor's office, I used to file and stuff, and I had scrubs. So I had scrubs on a lot throughout the week. Scrubs. Okay. I'm going to say that I'm there to pick up the dogs for the doggy day out. So, you know, it'll go with the scrubs. So I'm just like walking you through, like I'm thinking all this. Right. So I'm like, hey,
so
I'm here to pick up your doggy. Wrong house. You're at the wrong house. That's it. So they'd answer and I'd be like, hey, I'm here to pick up, Willie and Rufus for their doggy day out. I'm the transportation. And they'd be like, you have the wrong house. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me go call my boss in the car and check. And then I'd wave. And, perception is crazy because when you're in someone's face and you're like, hey, I'm here. This is me. Look at me. I'm friendly. I'm nice. I'm outgoing and all this stuff. You doing something bad is the last thing on their mind. Right. Because everyone thinks a criminal is going to be hiding and sneaking and, doing all this creepy, shady shit. And so I tried to do the opposite. And so if they didn't answer the door, now what am I going to do? I need to find one of those windows. But I would try to find homes that had like privacy fences or a lot of shrubbery and things like that, something that could hide me. So if I found all that, I would go to the backyard and I would find a window. I would tap them a lot at first to see, like some windows you could feel me and were like solid, thick windows. And some windows were just, you could tell they were flimsy. Like you'd knock on them and they, would wiggle and stuff. It was really weird, or like shake.
Yeah.
So I kind of try to feel which window and just, remember, hey, like do not separate the magnets. So when I would find the window, I would knock some more. At this point, I'm still going around and I'm knocking on all these windows, like in the backyard, sliding glass door and everything, because I want to make sure, like, okay, maybe you were in the shower. Maybe you had headphones on. Maybe you just didn't hear me ringing the front doorbell. So I want to like knock some more. But now I have to have a different story, because if I'm in your backyard knocking for Willie and Rufus, that's just creep as hell. Why? This employee is way too determined to get these dogs, and it's weird. Right. So I can't be in your backyard looking for the dogs. Like, that's crazy. So at this point, I would say to them, hey, my friend, my coworker, whomever, Samantha, she asked me to come check on her mom, Miss Martha, because Miss Martha's not answering the phone, and she's really worried about her. And she didn't have a break, but I did. So I'm just here to check on Miss Martha. That's why I'm knocking like a crazy person. Miss Martha, Miss Martha,
Right.
And I'm saying this as I'm in the backyard, like, Miss Martha. And so, and I did run into people sometimes, and they would be like, oh, you have the wrong house. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Miss Martha, we got to find Miss Martha. You know what I mean? Like, got to find Miss Martha. So, and nobody's going to be upset or offended if you came looking for a dog and you were at the wrong house, or you came to do a welfare check on an elderly person and you had the wrong house.
Right.
It's not going to offend people, and it's not going to raise suspicion. So, I was good to go. So, but if all that goes well, then I will go ahead and I will, get in. I'll break glass or suck glass out or whatever.
Right.
So, I was so immature. Okay. So anyways, yeah. So I'll go in and I will always try to target the master bedroom or an office. The master bedroom, of course, jewelry and things in there, but usually in the closet is where I know that there's like the money or a little safe or things like that. It's really surprising how much of the same kind of things rich people do. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know if they see their friend do it and they do it or whatever, but it's like they all have these little safes. They hardly ever lock it. They, just the same types of behavior. So I kind of knew what to look for and what to do. I could get it in and out pretty easily. I had my car, which was my personal car, which was a Mercedes, because I, was paying homage to my Mercedes guy. But I had my Mercedes, but I bought from an auction. I had a friend who was a car dealer, and he had dealer's license. So he would go to the auctions, and I got an Impala. It was just a silver Chevy Impala, no bells and whistles, very standard, just police car. And I use that to do my burglaries. I use that to do my burglaries because like rich people, you know, they see an Impala, they're not going to like, what? I don't know. It's a Hyundai, it's a Daewoo. Like they don't know. It's a Saturn. Whatever. It's silver.
Right.
I also had some stolen license plates that I had stolen.
I was just going to ask that. Was it registered to you?
Yeah. Like, so the Impala was registered to me. It was mine. But I had stolen license plates that I had stolen several, like throughout a period of, 2 weeks or so. Just taken from here or there. And I would put that over I just put it right on top of my license plate, literally with tape, with big duct tape. Just put 2 big things behind and slap it on and just cruise on out. Try to make sure I drive safe. I surprisingly never got pulled over, not once. And I did this for about, I don't know, a couple years. But anyway, so I never got pulled over with the fake license plates or the stolen license plates or anything. And what ended up happening was I got sentenced. So the charge for the burglary and the pawnbroker thing that I had originally that got me, him and I separated, I still had to face, the charge. So I ended up getting probation. And by the time I got probation, because it had dragged out so long, by the time I got probation, I had already relapsed and I was already, in the fields of burglarizing. So the day that I went to probation, when you sign probation papers, and I don't know, like you're on probation or not, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, either way.
Federal supervised release is what it's called. Yeah,
so
probation.
I don't know. It's probably different because you're supervised by the United States of America and I'm supervised by Florida. God, that's heavy. Like when it's like the United States of America versus you versus little Florida. So Florida's supervising me, not the whole country. So I don't know. It's probably different. But like in Florida, you go sign when you get on probation, like that morning. Or the day, whatever, you have 24 hours to go and like meet your probation officer, sign your paperwork. And part of signing your paperwork is acknowledging the rules. And the rules very clearly state, and they will let you know that you do not have the right to consent or deny to a search of you, of your person, or your property. Like a cop can knock on your door and say, hey, I like ran your license plate in your driveway. You're on probation. I want to come in and search. And like they can, there's just, they can do it at any point.
Same thing.
For no, okay.
Exact same.
Okay. So that, I was like freaked out about that. I was like, holy hell, but whatever. Okay. So I went in and signed my paperwork that morning. I read everything. I was like, Jesus. When I was leaving probation with my paperwork, I was like, damn, I need some money because I need to get some pills and I don't have any money. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to have to hit a house. But the weird, like, this is where I didn't prepare. A lot of times, especially in movies and things like that, you see them like doing surveillance, looking for patterns, looking for schedules, watching who lives there and all that stuff. I didn't do any of that. I found it to be like a waste of time just because you could be sick that day and stay home. I could watch you every day and you go to work from 7 to, whatever time. And then that day you're sick and you're home. And now I have like a whole thing. Everything could change because one factor shifts and then all the work that you've done with surveilling the house, it's like totally, it's out the window.
Easier to just knock on the door.
Yeah, easier to just knock on the door.
Doodles.
Right, for your doodles. Like have provisions in place to make your presence excusable versus trying to find the right way and time to get this. No, I'm not doing all that. So most of the homes, and I said all that to say this, most of the homes I burglarized, it was a crime of opportunity. So that day that I was leaving probation, I was driving and I knew that I was going to do this. And I was driving by and I always went to very nice upscale neighborhoods. Now prices of the homes are very different, but back then $500,000 to, $1.5, $2 million were very nice homes, wealthy people. Now you can't get a home for under 400 grand. So whatever. But I was going to those type of neighborhoods. And so I was driving past this neighborhood and I saw that there was like the way the neighborhood was set up was very, very good for me. There was privacy fences. And then there was also homes that backed up to like a street that was a main street, but it wasn't a huge main road. So I was like, okay, this is good. So I pulled in there. I looked around and I was like, yes, this is good. This is the house. But instead of like pulling right up to their driveway, I actually pulled onto the main road and like on the little emergency bike lane or whatever. And I jumped the guy's fence and then I went like via that route. So I went kind of through the backyard and kind of scoped everything out. But then I went and knocked on the door and nobody was home and I did my whole shindig and nobody answered. I broke in, I went through the window. When I got in, I, luckily was in the master bedroom, and I started going through the drawers. And as I started going through the drawers, I started putting things in my purse, and I ended up running across a gun. And I was like, oh shit, let me, put that to the side over there, because this could turn into a really serious charge if I pick this gun up or take it out or anything.
Right.
The difference between a burglary and an armed burglary is a difference between a first-degree felony and a second-degree felony, and a difference between life and like 10 years. So anyways, that's even if I take the gun out of the house with me and it's not mine. So I don't have to necessarily bring it. So I didn't want to touch it. I put it in the corner. But as I noticed that as I was like putting things in my purse, there was a lot going on in my purse. There was something really just going on with it. And I wanted that out of the way. So I looked down and it was my paperwork, my probation paperwork. So I took it out of my purse and I put it on the desk or on the dresser. And I was like, okay, I'll get you in a minute when I'm done. So I keep going, I keep getting things, and I'm like, putting things in my purse. And all of a sudden I hear a man's voice say, hey, what are you doing? And I turn around and there's a man in the doorway.
Oh,
and
shit.
I'm like, oh my God. And I used to do things to try to ensure that I would not run into anybody. Like I would always go lock the garage door that led to the garage, because most people pull into their garage and then go into their house. They don't lock that door. So I thought like I would lock that. I would hear jiggling. I would hear beep, beep, or like, even if the alarm's not on, I would hear like the beep of the door, something, right? I would hear something. And I didn't hear anything. And so I was very shocked. And when he said that and I turned around and looked, he was big as hell. I mean, he was like the whole door frame. So I was like, oh shit. And I promise you, I don't know where this came from, but I was like, I'm a juvenile. Don't touch me. I'm a juvenile. I put my hands up because I wanted to startle him and make him. And I was hoping like he was smart enough to catch it. Like, hey, there's a juvenile in my house. Her against me is not going to look good. So, let me just stop, because if he tackled me, it was over. So I was like, I'm a juvenile, don't touch me. And I kept backing up until I got to the door. And thank God he didn't move. He looked totally shocked, totally freaked out, and totally confused. And I was like, good. So I backed all the way up to the wall. Once I hit the wall, I turned around and I bolted out the window. When I bolted out the window, I ran, I jumped the fence, I get into my car. I was like really athletic. I was jumping fences, parkour. And then I get in the car. When I get in the car, I start to drive off and I look over my purse and I'm like, fuck, the probation papers with my name and my address and my birth date and like everything else. Just here we are, come get me, are on this fucking guy's dresser. So at this point I was like, okay, I have to make a decision. There's like a 50-50 shot. And I always tell this part of the story with this because I remember having this conversation with myself so well. Like I had this conversation with myself and it was in detail. Like there was two people. I was like, okay, Jen, you can go back and there's a 50-50 shot of getting caught. He can walk in on you and tackle you to the ground. But there's also a 50-50 chance you could get out scot-free and be done. So,
there's a 100% chance that you're going to jail if you don't.
Right. So I was like, I'm going to take the 50-50.
Yeah.
The 100% is not looking good. I'm taking the 50-50. So I, believe it or not, I went back. I did actually get in. I jumped in. I heard the guy talking outside very loud. He had a very deep voice. I heard him. So I knew he was outside. I got in the window. I got my papers and I got back out. But unfortunately, as I was jumping the fence, for some reason, I did something different. Like I'm a creature of habit. So when I came back to his house, I didn't park directly behind his home. I parked in the next door neighbor's home, just like maybe 10 feet up. And so I jumped the neighbor's fence, trying to kind of hear and gauge what was going on. And that's when I heard him outside and I jumped his fence and went back in through the broken window. But when I went back out of his house, I ended up jumping the neighbor's fence and then having to jump another fence to get to my car. Same way I came in, I was going out. So instead of just going out in his backyard and jumping dude's fence and running a little further down to my car, I just jumped two fences and it was just so bizarre, but I did it. And in the midst of doing that, as I think I'm about to get away and hurdle my last fence, I get tackled. And I don't know, because obviously I never talked to them again. I never saw them again.
Right.
I don't know how the fuck the big guy told the other guy that, hey, this all happened and it's a girl, or what transpired that made this guy tackle me. But he tackled me to the ground, and then he hit on me, and then he held my arms till the police came. And then he called his neighbor so he could hold my other arm. I wasn't talking. I wasn't saying anything. I was very pissed off. So I did get arrested that day, the same day I signed probation for the other charges. Now I was on probation. Now I was in jail and violated that probation, which is terrible. And so now I sat in the county jail for a good while. It was like, I don't know, 13 months, something like that, 14 months. And I ended up getting sentenced to a longer rehab. So I had a good attorney.
You still didn't get jail time?
No. So I ended up getting sentenced to 2 years of community control without the monitor.
You need jail time. You're a menace.
I did. I'm not going to lie, I did. So I ended up getting sentenced to the Phoenix House, which is a rehab in Ocala, Florida. And that is where I would have my last and final arrest that would send me off to prison. I would go from there. Basically, I ended up going to that rehab. I ended up staying in that rehab. It's 18 to 24 month rehab. I ended up staying there for roughly a little under a year, like 10, 11 months. I graduated that program and I ended up staying in Ocala. When I stayed in that city, it was just for various reasons. I didn't have a boyfriend at the time. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have any reason to come back to Jacksonville right away. And you have to do an aftercare program. So I just said I would do it there anyways. So that's what I did. And in the midst of graduating that program and going to an apartment that I had now, got in that town, I met my son's father. I met a guy. And when I met this guy, he's a very nice guy, good family, never been in trouble, never been arrested. He just thought I was super exciting, a lot of fun. I think I was to him kind of like what the Russian was to me, because I was like exciting and something so different than he had ever dated. His parents are like mega, very, very, very well off. They have a huge business, metal business, and just a good guy. Went to college, just all around good, clean cut guy. I met him and things were all right for a little while. He didn't know anything about my life. He didn't know how I ended up in that city. I told him I was there for a change of scenery, just change of pace, wanted to slow it down a bit, come here and go to school because I had enrolled in the community college just to do something while I was there. But I relapsed again with pills. With the pills, I never went back to the heroin, but I did relapse with the pills again. So now this is the second relapse. And I ended up now I've like kind of, fine-tuned the burglaries. I know what I'm doing now. So now I'm in a whole new town, a whole new stomping ground with new homes, more rich people. And I've fine-tuned all the things that didn't work the first go round, like leaving my probation papers on someone's desk, So now I've fine-tuned everything regarding my career, criminal lifestyle, and I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to go back to what I do best, which is, okay, I've relapsed again. And they're not lying. Like when people say when you relapse, you kind of pick up right where you left off, like it's so true. And so I started doing Roxy's again, and basically I needed a lot of money because now they were expensive. They were a lot more expensive. The pill mill age was starting, and
they're trying to shut down.
Basically, the prices, they were going from like $8 to $10 to like 20, 30. Yeah, $1 a milligram. That's exactly what was going. So they're like $30 for one, and I need like 4 to be okay. And I would take 4 like 5 times a day. I mean, I was taking like 30 a day on regular days if I could. It was crazy. So I needed a lot of money, and I had a whole new area now that was just untouched. So I started going at it.
An untapped market. Okay.
Untapped market. And the good thing about this market was that these homes, they call Ocala horse country, and there's just like a lot of big open space plantation style homes and things like that. And so you don't have neighbors. So like, I don't care if you have privacy fence or shrubbery or whatever. Like Joe down the street is 2 miles away. He's not seeing anything. I can break in through your front window, which I had. And nobody even notices. Like, so anyhow, I start burglarizing. I start doing it. Now, the guy I'm dating, he has no idea anything that's going on. He doesn't know why sometimes I'm a little sleepy like this. He doesn't know why I wake up at 5 a.m. and then have these odd hours because I would work. I would go and I would burglarize from about 7:30-ish or so. I would start. But I would wake up at like 5:36, something like that. I would kind of get ready, get my gear together, get myself mentally prepared for my speeches, all of that. And then I would go out and I would always burglarize between like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Then I would stop like around 11:30. And then I would go back out around 1:30. And then I would stop again like around 3:30. So I was like, these are the hours that people are, maybe you come home for lunch, maybe you don't, but these are the hours that I'm pretty sure nobody's going to be home. I would always try to make sure that, as best as I could. If it was like raining or drizzling, I would make sure, hey, this is a good day. I need to hit a lot of homes because people aren't outside. They're not outside jogging. They're not walking their babies. They're not, whatever. They're not cutting the grass.
They're not going to come back in from jogging. You're in their bedroom.
Right.
How many houses a day are you doing? You're like a lot of homes.
Yeah,
I'm thinking one every few days.
No. Oh no, gosh, that wouldn't have been near enough. So on a rainy, drizzly day, it would be like maybe 7 to 9. On a really nice day where maybe people are outside, 3 to 5. But no less than 3. Like if I don't hit 3, then you're
gonna be sick.
Then there's not. And then I have a lifestyle. Like I like nice things. So I need to also not only support this habit, but my lifestyle, because I'm paying for, my rent. I'm paying for my 2 cars, the one that's burglarizing, the one not. I'm paying, like I have all these things, and and I like cosmetics and purses and jewelry. So I need. So anyways, I'm at least burglarizing 3 homes a day. But most of the time we're averaging like 5. I would try to really capitalize on rainy days. And
the alarms aren't going off.
There was like maybe, I mean, okay. So just to give you some numbers, for reference here, my paperwork, like if you go through my court papers and everything like that, it was over 200 homes. And that, I mean, it is a lot, but it's not, because it was over a couple years, but it was definitely, and when I say over, like it was like, well, they stopped counting at certain points.
Yeah.
And then they stopped counting around. So my lawyer had them stop counting at 2 million. At 1 million, you can start garnishing wages for life in Florida. But he had him stop counting at 2 million and just said, we'll pay back this much, but added up, it was over 7 million. So, I didn't, I've never like sat down and done all the math, but it was definitely, it was
excessive.
It was excessive. And I wish I had something to show for it. Yeah, it was, yeah. I didn't feel like I was prolific at the moment. I thought I was just surviving, but in hindsight, I didn't have this shit. Yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
Right. Yeah, I felt like, this is just a very normal thing. Like people burglarize all the time. They steal purses, don't they? They run up to grandma's and take their purse, but they're not stealing millions of dollars. So,
are you, one more question.
Yeah.
How are you getting rid of the stuff?
Okay,
I mean,
so that's
not to pawn it anymore.
Right.
I'm assuming you learned that lesson.
Right. I definitely do not set foot in a pawn shop. I still, even like to this day, because records are very easy to get. You can go on FDOC.com, because people, I guess, lie about their stories, and it's very bizarre because it's like you can literally go look it up. So anyways, when you look up all the charges, there's still that one little pesky false verification to a pawnbroker from 2007, and it's from that. So so I never did that again. What I ended up doing was like, okay, I'm going to get the gold and I'm going to get the cash, but I have to get rid of the gold somehow. And how am I going to do that? So I thought, well, I could sell the gold outright, but then the way I got caught in the pawn shop was because the person identified the piece of jewelry and they said it was identifiable. And I guess, so the police explained that like, if there's, if it's like a wedding band or something, whatever, but if it's like, it's inscribed and says Joe and Martha to 2004, then, that's identifiable.
Yeah.
And so if the homeowner can identify it, or there's pictures that they have it on, and then they go to pawn shops looking for it or whatever, like there's a lot of ways they can find it if it can be identified. So I knew that a lot of these nice, big, heavy pieces would be identifiable, obviously. So how am I going to get rid of it? I can't even sell it outright, like under the table to somebody, because it's still identifiable. So I was like, maybe I can melt it down. How the fuck do you melt gold down?
Smelter.
Like this is not, YouTube time where you can learn how to do, heart surgery on YouTube. Like this is, so I did not really know what to do. So I remembered a lot of the things I did was like me really just thinking about things that I had seen, just referencing like things I had seen, heard, or thought in my life. Like I remember seeing signs, we buy gold, we buy scrap metal, antique dealer, we buy gold, like stuff like that. So I was like, let me go check these people out, see what they're about. They're talking about we buy gold. Let me go see if they'll buy this gold.
Right.
So I ended up finding out that you can melt gold down, and there's a refinery, a machine that separates the gold from the impurities. And if you basically have that machine, or you can find that machine, then you can melt the gold down into any kind of size bar. or brick with a certain template, or, if the person has it. So I ended up finding a guy, and he had a shop, and he had a refinery. His store was like a surplus store. It was like a store, like a mom and pop Home Depot. They sold toilet flushers and screens and like little bullshit like that. And I went in there because he had a big sign outside that says, "We buy gold. We buy scrap gold," because there's a difference between like precious metal and regular metal. So I found out all these things as I was going along, and basically he said he had a refinery and he could melt it down. I came in there and was like, "Hey, I came into my grandma's estate. She passed. She has a lot of gold. It's like scrap stuff. Some stuff's broken. I don't want it all. Can I just like melt it and get myself a little brick or something?"
And he said, "Oh, I understand."
Yeah, and he's
gotcha.
like, right, exactly. He's like, yeah, sure. And I was really
that happens all the time.
Right. So when he told me that happens all the time and I can do it, I was like, okay, well, do you have like a fee, like a rental fee or something for your machine? And so now we're understanding each other. And he's like, yeah, sure. It depends on how much you melt, whatever. So, and anyways, he had a 5-ounce gold template. So I would make these 5-ounce gold bars. I always called them bricks, but they're bars. It's like the size of a business card, literally. Yeah. And like a little, like, thicker.
Like a little
obviously.
ingot. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah. So it's 5 ounces, 5 ounces of pure gold. And basically I was melting that down, and I was trying to at least leave with 3, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 bars every day, but at least 3 bars every time I would go. And I would go to his shop a couple times a week. I mean, maybe like 4 or 5 times a week.
Grandma loved her bling bling.
Yeah. And then so I would take those bars and I would sell them to gold collectors, gold dealers that I would find online, antique collectors, people that own coin shops, things like that. I would find them online. This was a big problem because I started mailing the stuff out. And then when it was going to different states, when I ended up getting caught, they were like, this is crossing state lines. This could be like government, federal stuff, whatever. Right. It didn't. But anyways, thank God. So basically I was selling it to them, and I was selling the 5 ounces of gold. And I, sometimes I would sell several to one person. Sometimes I would sell one to one person. And I just kept doing this. And just like, so because I know a lot of people, you throw numbers out there, you say things, but I like to give them reference points so they know. So like back then, an ounce of gold was roughly like $1,200 for an ounce. And that's like without the stones and, gold that was good. Because here 14 karat gold is really like 10, and 10 is really like 8. Like there's a lot of impurities. If you go to like India or overseas somewhere, like the Middle East, and buy gold, it's like really what they say it is. But here it's not. So if I would have like a Ziploc bag full of gold, like entire, like packed with gold, minimal stones, mostly 14 karat, some 10, that would be roughly like 20 grand, 20 to 22 grand, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Melted down. So I tried to at least get a few of those bags in a week. I didn't always have a bag to fill up, but that's why I tried to burglarize so many homes, was because I wanted to make sure I would get those little bags, and then I could take them. And every time I'd get a bag, I would go and, so this is what I was doing. This was the whole gimmick. This was paying for my lifestyle. This was paying for my drug addiction. This was paying for everything. And I was living well too. I mean, I was doing whatever I wanted. So it kept going and going. One time I ran into a safe. I made it a point not to tote out big objects, but one time I ran into a safe, and I just knew there was like millions of dollars in there, at least $1 million. And I was like, I'm getting this safe out. But the safe was heavy as hell. So I drug that bitch out on a sheet through the house on these people's tile, and I drug it out on a sheet. But then I had a problem because, I can't separate the magnets. So I got to the front door, and now I got to open the door, and I got to separate the magnets. So I was like, okay, this alarm is about to go beep for like 30 to 45 seconds. And then it's going to woo, 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 woo. So if I can get this beast to my car in this amount of time, then I'm good. But it's not likely. So, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, so finally, I go back out the window. I go back to my car. I get in my car. I back that bitch up all the way to the front door. Like, this is a nice home. Let's just say like $1 million home. I don't remember. It's like just $1 million home, we'll just say, right? I have my car literally backed up all the way to their front door, over their grass and their sidewalk, looking suspicious as hell, with the trunk open and both back doors open. So just like visualize this ridiculousness that's happening. And as I'm doing this, I'm pulling the safe out. The safe is not gliding anymore because now we're on concrete and we're on grass. It's not gliding anymore.
How are you even going to get it up into the vehicle?
Well, I didn't know yet, but I thought I'd figure something out. I tried to put it on my foot, but before I even get there, let me just let you know about the neighbor who almost helped me commit a felony without knowing. He was almost my freaking co-defendant. And as I'm going to my car and I'm like, oh, I'm dragging the safe, I kind of see like somebody moving out my peripheral. And when I look, it's the freaking neighbor. And I have to look at him now because he's approaching. I can see he's moving closer. I pull out my cell phone. I'm like, Mom, I can't believe you have me doing this shit. I'm home from college. You have me taking the safe to your office. I don't even remember the alarm code. The alarm's going off. The safe is heavy as shit. Like, I'm so pissed off right now. This is ruining my vacation, hoping like, so he'll hear me and not think, why is this person pulling a safe out of my neighbor's house?
Right.
So we lock eyes and he's like, sweetheart, you need some help with that? And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, no, sir, please go away while I'm robbing your neighbor's safe. Like, stay over the hell over there. So he doesn't come. But anyways, what ended up happening was I couldn't get it in the trunk, but I was able to wedge it up on my foot. Like I stuck my foot up under it. I wedged it on my foot and then I kind of rolled it on my knee and then I kind of just rolled it into the back seat. The back seat is lower than the trunk.
Yeah.
So I rolled it into my back seat. For the record, there was nothing of value in it. It was like birth certificates,
right,
marriage license, deeds, social security cards, and everything else. I did return the stuff to the people a couple days later. I felt guilty. I did not feel guilty robbing them. I felt guilty about keeping their paperwork, whatever. So I took it back. I put it in their mailbox. I didn't usually remember homes that I burglarized because there were so many. But these people had a particularly nice home and it was memorable. So anyways, and also I was like, I would target certain areas. Like maybe I couldn't remember the home, but I would remember the area. So if I drove around long enough, and it was just crazy, Matt, because this is the thing too. Like one time I was in a neighborhood and this neighborhood was big as shit. And I was like, holy hell, you know what? This is crazy. I got to get out of here. There's helicopters flying over. There's cops parked on every other street. There's got to be like a murderer on the loose. For my safety, I need to leave. And the people were looking for me the whole time. The alarms have been going off one by one, beep, 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 on all these streets. And they had apparently been looking for me for a while now, a couple months.
I'm assuming that a string of a couple hundred burglaries in an area
within
a year is going to make them think, you know what?
Right.
I think someone's burglarizing the houses.
Yeah. So once they did all that thinking, all that, genius rocket science thinking, they decided that they were going to really make their response to any burglary in a nice area was going to be like big presence. And I'm in this neighborhood and I'm just like so dense sometimes that I literally thought there was a murder on the loose in this neighborhood or a hostage situation. I need to get the fuck out of there quickly. Because there was a helicopter and there was all the cops. So I'm just driving out the neighborhood. My hair is blowing in the wind. I got the windows down because I'm still conscious that oh shit, I need to, I am burglar. In the midst of whatever this guy's doing, because it has to be a guy doing something crazy in here. In the midst of what he's doing, I still am burglarizing these homes. So let me not look suspicious. So I roll the windows down. I turn the music up and I'm like, woo! Singing, whatever. And I'm riding out the neighborhood and the whole time they were looking for me and I didn't even know it. So I got arrested and they told me. And because they said something, they were like, we've had helicopters looking for you and all that. And I was like, that was for me? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know.
I feel bad.
Yeah. I mean, I should have helped you guys out some. I had no idea it was that big. But, yeah. And then, and like animals. So, they thought there was like a chicken bandit because I broke into someone's home. And as soon as I stepped through the threshold of the window, I met with, and it's a dog and it's not a fucking doodle and it's not a Frenchie. Okay. It's a big ass, I don't know what he is. It's not a Belgian Malinois and it's not like a pit bull, but it's something that's mean and doesn't like me and it's growling. And so I know okay, I've got to really tread lightly here. So I'm like, and usually just so you know, I carry some kind of treat, like a hot dog, a sandwich, something I can just toss their way and get them out of the way. But I didn't have anything that day. And so I was like, "Hey, come on, puppy." Let's try and do a real high voice, and I led him to the kitchen and all the people had that I could see was a rotisserie chicken. So I just pull that thing open and put it on the ground and led him to a little hallway and put a thing up right there so he couldn't get through. He just ate that chicken the whole time and I was in and out of there. So there was and then there was a few times when I stepped in and I would step in the living room and all of a sudden, woo, woo, and I would just haul ass. Or in a few times when I would break a window and they had the shatter feature where if glass broke, they would, the alarm would go off. Yeah. And so a few things happened like that here and there. But to be honest, 98% of the time, it was smooth sailing. Most people, that have an animal don't turn their motion detectors on. Most people leave something open, like even your front door. I cannot tell you how many times I would look just through the little glass, the glass panes in your front door, or like on the side of the door, and look at the alarm box that's always next to everybody's front door and see if it was red or green. Like I know it's armed or it's not. If it's green, I don't even have to worry about shit. I can open everything. And so like there's so many things that are indicative of what's going on inside the home that people don't even realize. And if they tweaked them, it would really help them out. And it's just like, you're literally giving me a blueprint of what's going on and what I need to be aware of by saying, in case of fire, save Rufus. Now I know you have a dog. I can see in your window if your alarm is set. I know your motion detectors aren't on if it is set. Like all of these things, and so I just always found it really fascinating that people didn't do a few things differently. And instead of trying to create the element of surprise, they tried to expose all of these things that they have in place to keep their home safe. And it really didn't work for them. It worked for me.
Right.
And it's, and even aside from that, like, get to know your neighbors, at least like just wave to them. You don't have to talk to them, just wave to them so they know who's supposed to be there and who's not. Because you can't tell me that guy that offered to help me pull the safe in the car, how the fuck do you not know that your neighbor doesn't have a grown college daughter?
Right.
Like that just seems like it's something you would know, even if you didn't know them. And it's just bizarre that you would think that a car backed all the way up to their front door through the grass and sidewalk, pulling a safe out while the alarm's going off in the background with a kid that you've never seen isn't alarming to you. Like, it's weird.
You're a woman too.
Right.
So people really
perception,
just,
yes.
they do not expect, especially if you're like, hey, what's going
right.
on? Then
right.
they're like,
right.
They're expecting either a heavily tattooed white guy,
yep.
or a big black guy with dreads and gold teeth. Yeah,
yep.
that's what
yep.
they're expecting.
Yep. Absolutely.
A young girl, hey,
hey, are you for the dogs?
Like, oh, hey,
right.
You?
Yeah.
I'll help you.
Which
with the
is
safe.
crazy. Right. Which is like another reason I kind of started, talking about all this too, was because I thought, well, maybe, I can kind of shift people's perception a little bit, just to at least be aware, just to like, hey, this can really, they can look different. They don't have to look like that.
Where did most people, did you find a place where people hid cash?
Yeah, they always have it in the bank envelope, in literally the bank envelope, in their room, in a drawer, or the woman in a purse somewhere in the closet, always. Or a lot of rich people would have it in office too. Like there would be a lot of it in the office. But rich people always have that emergency stash. And I knew because my mom and her friends always had it too. They're just worried that like the hurricane's going to close the bank down and everyone's going to have to evacuate. So, but yeah, it was mostly always like in a drawer, right there in the room, in the dresser, or in the purse, in the closet. Like very simple.
So the other question, you talked about the gold. Mm-hmm. What about, if you found diamonds, what'd you do with diamonds? Because you can break those apart, not break them apart, but you can pull them out of the diamond ring, out of the jewelry, whatever. Bag.
I actually had the one necklace that got me caught and sent to prison, had like 5 huge diamonds, and I didn't want to melt it because I just knew it was worth something, and I didn't know if it was worth more like intact or if I took the diamonds out, and like the gold wasn't much, but I knew the diamonds were like so nice. They were so freaking huge. But I wasn't a stones person. I didn't know anything about stones. I didn't deal in stones. So I'd never did anything with them. And what I would do is I would pop the stones out, and a lot of the time I would pay the guy that I was using his machine. A lot of the times I would pay him in the stones. I was probably paying him way over, but like I was so focused on my crime and what I was doing and just what I was doing, and I didn't really want to delve into like other areas of criminal stuff.
Yeah, you're not trying to get rich. You're trying to get enough money for.
So he got like probably a good 90% of all the stones. Right. I mean, some stuff I was like, oh, this is fake, and threw it out. God only knows. I don't even think about it. I probably threw it away.
They ever have a conversation with him?
No, I never saw him. I actually got caught because, they had a conversation with him.
Okay.
They were doing surveillance on his shop because he was doing other shady things.
No.
I don't know what. I can't believe it. Like I really thought he was a straight-laced guy.
Renting the machine.
Renting me the machine and running this legit business. But apparently he was doing other shady dealings. And they were doing surveillance on his shop. And who do they see coming and going all the time? Me in my car with my license registered to me with my tag, not the fake one. And then what do they see on this girl's record? burglaries, more burglaries and this and that and whatever. And so they followed me a little bit. They never caught me doing anything, but because I was on probation and they had the right to search me or my person or my property at any time for no reason at all, they ended up arresting him, and they talked to him, and he told him what he knew, which was very minimal. Her name's Jennifer. He didn't even know my last name. She comes in, she melts gold down. He told him enough to make him suspicious. She melts a lot of gold. She pays me to use the refinery. She goes about her business. That's it. That's how they ended up at my house. Actually, they ended up at my baby daddy's house, but I said baby daddy. They ended up at his house, and they raided it, and they found that the one necklace with the 5 big diamonds. And I had found out I was pregnant a week earlier with my first and only child, his first and only child, and he was super excited. And so I found out I was pregnant. That Tuesday we went to the doctor and found out officially. I found out the week before, but that Friday they raided the house. And he didn't know. So like he answers the door, and then he gets me and says that the lady's out there to see you with a police vest. And he has no idea that I've ever been a criminal.
He doesn't even know you're on probation?
He doesn't know I'm on probation, Matt. He doesn't know. He thinks I'm in town. He thinks I'm in town for a change of pace and going to this community college because I was overwhelmed with the big university. And like, he knows nothing.
All right.
Just knows I'm the daughter of 2 doctors, and I just needed to slow down a little bit. I was getting a little too rowdy. So now I walk through the door. The lady says, don't make any sudden movements. And the police fly from the trees, the bushes, the sides of the street, everywhere. And at this point, he's already gone back to the room. And when he tells the story, he said he was in the shower. He had just hopped in the shower real quick, and the cop came in and was like, get out the shower. Because they like down hard believed he had to have something to do with it.
Right.
Like there was no way that they thought he was just an innocent bystander. So he thought it was a mistaken identity. He thought it was a case of mistaken identity. And he said that the moment that he looked at me and they said to him, can we search your house? Because it's in your name, it's not in hers, so we can't search the house. And he said, yeah. And I said, don't let him search your house. They don't have a warrant. He was like,
oh, damn. What did you get me into?
Man.
What normal person says that?
He looks at him and he goes, do you have a warrant? And they were like, no. And he was like, he can't search my house. And he was so devastated. And I was like, and then the person was like, well, we'll lock your house up, make you go out and still get a warrant. It'll take like 12 hours, something ridiculous, whatever. But anyways, they lightly searched a little bit and just like looked around, and they were on their way out. However, they looked through the windows on the garage and saw my car that's registered to me in the garage. So they turned their asses back around and searched my car, which is where they found the fake license plates and the necklace, the one necklace. So they took me away for that. I called him, Kyle, it's baby daddy. I called Kyle from booking, and I was like, listen, I don't know what I'm going to get, but it's not going to be good. And I have a lot of stuff going on. I don't expect you to ride this out with me. However, all I ask is that when our child is born, because obviously I'm in custody now, so baby's being born, you please afford my family the opportunity to have a relationship with him and whatever. And he was like, I'm sticking by you, but you're like the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me.
This is great. I've told all my friends the cops were here.
He's like,
you're the coolest.
Yeah, he's like, no. Like, I've waited like 25 years to find someone this exciting. I'm not going to give up now. And I was like, okay, all right. So, but to be fair, he brought our son to see me every Sunday for 10 years to the prison. I had my son incarcerated. He took him home. He raised him. He brought him to see me every Sunday for 10 years, never got remarried, never had any more kids, never got another girlfriend. And when I got out, he moved to Jacksonville with our son because I was going back there and, I was on probation. And he got a condo in the same neighborhood that I got a condo in. And we co-parent, and his expectation of like anything after was just first, like, let's co-parent because you've missed a lot of years. So let's, and guys always get so pissed at this. They're like, you bitch, you used them for 10 years and then you, but
I had to stop myself from saying you're a horrible person.
God.
I said, don't say
listen,
it. She may leave.
No, if you go and look at any video that has any like snippet of him and what he's done, everything is like, you're just the biggest piece of shit in life. However, he responds to these things all the time. And
What do you mean, in the comments?
Like, not in the comments, but like in life when people ask him or like, and he responds better than I do. And a lot of the reason that, you know, we're okay right now is because of the way he responds. And so this is what he always says. He's like, I didn't bring our son. First of all, they lived in the same town as the prison. That's why I stayed in the maximum security prison and didn't go to like a better, you know, prison or one with AC or whatever, because they lived like 10 minutes away. So him coming every Sunday was like easier logistically speaking. But I mean, for 10 years, that's still an incredible act. So, but he's like, I didn't bring our son because I was expecting like a reward by way of us, you know, like I did it for my son. My son, I didn't want him to grow up and ever say, why did you not let me meet my mom? She wasn't a horrible person. Like he knew me in a different way than just a criminal. And he believed in the person that I was and the good in me and the ability to like come out of this. And so he didn't want my son to see me after prison and be 12, 15 years old and be like, she's not, you know, this horrible criminal. Why didn't you let me meet her or whatever and have anything, you know? Right. So he's like, I brought him not for her and not for me, for our kid. And so he's like,
that's got me fucked up. I'm almost in tears.
Yeah. I know I saw it.
But I cry very easily.
Like,
that doesn't mean I cry very easily.
No, but
I'm kind of a pussy.
No, it's okay though, because it actually is a very moving thing. It really is.
No, that's very.
And it was, and he was like, he says, you know, so he did it for him, and he was like, my son and his mom, like that's his only child. So, and he loves him so much. He's such a great dad. And he's like, my child didn't have that woman, that nurturing, you know, thing, that figure in his life. I mean, he had a grandma's, but he didn't have that mom for like almost 9 years. So, I don't, the years after she gets out, right? Like relationships, most marriages, I mean, this is what he says. He's like, Jennifer, most marriages don't last 10 years. Okay. When you're in the same household. So to think that a relationship can sustain being physically apart for 10 years and still be the same is crazy. Now, could you, you know, reignite this by like starting over, not like starting over from scratch and like dating, but like getting to know each other again? Because you're a different person when you're 27 than when you're 40. Right. Because when we started dating, he was 25, I was 27. And so now I'm getting out and I'm like 37, I'm like 36. And so like we're different people. 30 to 40 is you're totally different. Plus I met him, I was like, you know, I was high and shit like that. We were having fun. Life was great. So he's like, you know, Dominic did not have you for all these beginning years. And he's only going to be a kid for like a couple more years. When he's 15, 16, he's not going to be looking for us. He's not going to be checking for us. So right now, that is a time you need to invest in him and let him invest in you and bond. Because if you have a relationship, whether it's with me or somebody else, you have to nurture that. Like for anything to grow, you have to feed it, whether it's a plant or a relationship. So to have this relationship, like we have a bond because we've been through something incredible and he stayed by me, but like you're still going to have to feed it romantically for it to keep going. Right. So he's like, you need to put that into our son because he lacked that. He did. He lacked that woman, that femininity, that he lacked all of that. So pour that into him for the next couple of years. And then like, I'm here and we're here and we'll do whatever we need to do and whatever. And I haven't been with anybody since I've been out either. So it's not like I like ditched him and went and dated whomever. The Russian's dead. He got murdered in a hotel. He got set up and murdered. So he's gone. Not that it would have mattered because he was the exact same person when I left as when I came back. And
you met him again? He came back to the United States?
So he came back to the United States about a year and a half before I got out of prison. And one day I was driving down the road and I saw him. Like it was just the most fluke thing. Like we live in the same area. Well, his parents and him, their house is in the same. You know, Jacksonville's big. It's the biggest city square miles wise, but it's like there's little areas. So he was in this area. I saw a Mercedes going past me and I just like knew it was him because I saw his profile, but I wasn't going to try to stop him or anything. And then I ended up running into him at a gas station and he ended up contacting me on Facebook. And that was the thing that you heard, you know, like when he's like, hey, call me sometime, like text me sometime, whatever. I did meet up with him twice and talk to him very briefly in like a parking lot. And, you know, it just wasn't there. Like, it was like 10 years has done nothing to change you. Fleeing the country for almost 10 years, has done nothing to change you. almost getting killed multiple times has done nothing to change. Like, you're still him, and that was fine when I was 20 and it was exciting. But now I have my frame of reference is prison and not being with my first and only child for his whole beginning years. So now my frame of reference is like, holy shit, if I lose and fuck up, I'm losing so much more than just me going away, because I didn't have anything to lose back then.
Right.
Except my future, which you can't really put that into, you know what I mean?
You don't know what that is.
You don't know what that is. Right.
You don't mid-20s.
Right. So I was just like kind of done with it. And then he got murdered. He got set up and he got murdered in a hotel. That was that. But
do you know what happened? Because I don't know if you realize that that's not a normal thing. You say
murdered?
It like it's, and you know how it is. No, not really.
Well,
so what do you know what happened? Any specifics, or did you just?
Yeah, I do. And you're right. It's not a normal thing, but I just, in his line of his lifestyle, I mean, it's like, he actually, him and another guy were feuding about drugs. I don't know the specifics of that, but I guess the guy and him were like actually just having a verbal argument, and I guess Gia stood up, and this came from like people that were there and people that we mutually know. They said that he stood up and he basically like bitch slapped the guy, and then like Gia made the guy give him all his shit, was like, give me all your shit out of your pockets right now. Like, you want to complain about this or that, like, give me all your shit. And it wasn't a lot. It was just like whatever he had on him. And then he sat, and then the guy gave it to him and ran to the bathroom and like locked himself in the bathroom. So he was like super embarrassed. And then Gia sat on the guy's couch. It was like at the guy's house. And then started giving out whatever the guy had in his pockets, like his money or his little bit of drugs or whatever, like started just giving it to everybody in the room. And they were like laughing at him. So the guy was like, his pride, he was embarrassed, and his pride, he just felt like he got punked or whatever. So he put out a bounty or whatever for 10 grand, 8 grand, something around there, for somebody to shoot him. And somebody did. They ended up calling him to this abandoned hotel. And I guess somebody was in a closet with the camera, which is how they know like all these details, like filming it so they could get their money. And he walked in, and then they said something. They did some kind of interaction. It was like under the guise of like they were going to do some drug deal. And then when he turned around to leave, they shot him in the back a couple times, and he fell and he died. So.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How'd you find that out?
This girl, Lindsay, we have a mutual friend named Lindsay. Lindsay dated his brother, Armin. And that family's cursed, man. Armin died of cancer while I was in prison, the brother. But Lindsay is my friend on Facebook, and she ended up messaging me and being like, hey, did you hear that this happened today? And I was like, no. And then she gave me all the details on it and stuff. And like, I followed it a little bit on the news and stuff like that. But at a point, I just like let it go and was like, what, like what for? So, it was sad that I got out and he was still the same person. And then my son's father is like this amazing guy. It's like it's two totally different guys. And how, if I would have still been wrapped up in that Russian, and all of that, I could have been in that hotel with him. Like, It's just crazy how 10 years can change somebody so much and change somebody so little at the same time, and how you can meet people that are so vastly different, and everybody that you come across impacts you and leaves their imprint in some way or another. And it's like your life could literally take a turn, and the entire trajectory could be changed for the worse or for the better, just by meeting one person and having that one influence and making that one decision to overlook this or to ride in the car with that. And that's how a lot of people get hemmed up, and things happen, and it snowballs. And so, so then I got out, and I went to prison for 10 years, and I got out February 2020, and right before COVID. And I got out, and then COVID hit 3 weeks later.
God, I mean, what a fucking...
I was like, to be honest, I just got out of prison, so I was like, whatever.
Yeah, everybody's complaining about lockdown.
Yeah,
so this is nothing.
This is great. I can go to Publix. So I got out, and I immediately, before COVID, shut everything down. I got a job cleaning toilets at a gym, which was very, very humbling experience.
I've cleaned some gym toilets myself.
I mean, you got to start, you know what I'm saying? You got to start. And so I did that. And then I got a job as a receptionist in a tanning bed. I just did whatever I could because I knew like I needed to stay going and stay, you know, productive. And so I did whatever I could, but then everything shut down and I was like, damn, I have to start finding ways to make money. And then I found social media because I said I wasn't going to get on social media because I didn't want to feel less than or like I had to keep up with Joneses or whomever because I see everyone's highlight reel, you know, and I can't even get my nails done this time because I'm cleaning toilets. Like, and I'm living in a hotel too, by the way. My mom paid a hotel for 6 months for me because she was like, my family pretty much cut me off besides my mom, but my mom was like, I will pay for a decent hotel for you, like an extended stay with the kitchenettes and everything for 6 months. And I will help you and, you know, drive you places and whatever. But what you do from there, I'm not giving you everything anymore. I'm not. So I did that, but I was all right. I managed to take off and be okay. But I was looking
it's amazing how with the most minimal, what people out here consider the most minimal lifestyle.
Yeah.
You get out of prison, you're like, fuck yeah, I got myself a fucking.
Do you know?
I got myself somebody's spare room. I got a piece of shit car that starts.
You know what? I cleaned that hotel room. I didn't have the room service. I told them do not come for all the months I was going to be there. I was there like 5 months. I told them do not come clean. I got myself a vacuum from the Goodwill. I got myself little candles. I had my own comforter. I had stuff my mom gave me. I decorated. I treated that hotel room like it was my home, my multi-million-dollar home, because I was proud. I was grateful. Right. You're going to make me start crying because I see your eyes watering. Jesus Christ. Lord have mercy. But yeah, I know I was really grateful for the small beginnings because when you are coming from somewhere where you can't even, you know, you can't even keep this water bottle because it's contraband because the water's gone and now I put coffee in it and they're going to throw it away.
Right.
It's like, fuck, man. I decorated that room and I vacuumed it and I cleaned it and I made it like it was my own space and I got a shit car and I loved it because it got me everywhere and I cleaned the toilets like it was the best thing ever because I knew I was going to get a paycheck at the end and no one was going to say, hey, you're going to prison because you have 20 grand that's, you know, stolen. Like, so it was, and I bonded with my son and life started to take off. I did have a little bit of money saved from prison that I was going to invest in something. I didn't know what it was. It wasn't even 10 grand. It was like 8-9 grand. I took a little bit of it to buy a car. So now that left me with like 4 grand. So I took it and I put it with my son's father and we got a bounce house business. I mean, most of the money's his, but I put in my little bit so I could get something back. Right. And so we have a bounce house business now and it's really nice. It's like commercial. It's not like a dinky 2-man, you know, 2 bounce houses. We have 11 and they're really, really nice and they're the big combos and we're in Florida. So it's busy all the time.
No, I know they had one over here the other day that drove us fucking crazy for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
Little 6-year-old kids it's 11 o'clock at night for God's sakes.
Jesus Christ.
We can hear, and then they loved it so much they went and they got a trampoline. So now at 4 o'clock every day when they get home, it's screaming.
Now they're jumping nonstop. Yay.
Nonstop. And it all started with the bouncy houses are a gateway.
They are.
To the trampoline.
To this.
Yes.
To what you have going on.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What is this?
So this is just nothing. I got it when I was 18 and it says Gemini Deuce Deuce because I had no idea what I was going to get tattooed on my arm and I wanted to be cool with an arm tattoo. So what did I get my birthday? Like in case I forget it, May 22nd, Gemini 2-2. You know?
Yeah, I know
how ridiculous.
I know what's happening. I get it.
Like, how can you possibly? But I thought it was so cool when I was 18. I was like, man, that writing is fire. Look at that diamond. Look at that diamond right there. Like, who doesn't want a diamond girl? Yeah, like, you know, I don't know. But yeah, so that's that. These are cover-ups. I got some prison tattoos because I was like, fuck it, I'm going into prison for 10 years. I'm a thug. Y'all aren't going to fuck with me. I'm about to fight everybody.
Oh, my God.
So I got like some prison tattoos, but you can't see them now. They're all covered up. The
cover up looks good because
you
can't tell.
Yeah, I would never, ever get tattoos on my arms now. Again, I go to my son's very private, very rich, very Catholic school that he goes to. And I meet people and I wear long sleeves all the time. And as soon as they get a glimpse of my hand, they're like, Oh, what was your son's name? Oh, he's in what grade? And I'm like, bitch. Like, and God, judgmental as people, man. But anyways, so yeah, so that's like kind of what's going on now. I have my condo with my son, and his dad picks him up every day. His dad is with him right now. His dad's picking him up from school today. They're going back to the condo. Like, we are very close, very good friends. We co-parent great. I have a good relationship with my mom. I don't see any of the people that I ever knew back in the day. And, life is just pretty good. So
can I ask you a question? You said you do TikTok. Like,
yes.
So here's the way you ended up here is because Jess had done a video with on Ian Bick's show. And so although she doesn't care about views and doesn't care how it looks and doesn't care anything about that, she does check it every 2 days. Right. So she checked and she's like, Ian Bick just had another girl, because Ian Bick said girls don't do well. He's like, I do these videos, they have great stories, they come in. He's like, and then I don't know why the videos don't do well.
Yeah.
And I've kind of had that where I've had some. I can
see how that might be.
I don't know why. Because I've, some of them have great stories, but I guess also because like 92% of the people that watch, to me, if 90% of the people watching my channel are male, I would think a video from a girl would do well. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah, I don't think they're. It's funny because most of my people are women.
Yeah,
they're like so intrigued by it, and that's the
Jessica Kent thing, right?
Oh God, that whole story is just so ridiculous. I can't even listen. I have a Okay, I can't say the name because this will be out before, but May 17th, I'm flying to a certain state to do some filming with a certain company that has a YouTube channel that the girl that you just said has said she works with a lot. I don't know how, they don't pay, like whatever. Anyways, I was just saying, God, I hope she's not there. And I hope she's not part of this new project, because I don't think I can literally sit across from you and have a conversation, because it's a group and it's my best friends going as well.
Right.
So I don't think either of us could sit in a room knowing that I did 9.2 years of I went in 2011. I got out in 2020. And so like I did, because in Florida it's 85%.
Yeah.
I did the majority of my 10-year sentence.
Right.
And I don't think I could, and my best friend did 27 years to the door.
That's
so
the girl that just came in.
Yeah. Right. So I don't think, on two sentences. One was a 25 and she did 20, and then the other one was a 7 to the door. She wasn't eligible for game time. So she did 27 years with a 6-month break in between. It was so bad, but she went into juvenile too. So, but yeah, so I just don't think I could sit there and be like, and take you seriously with these stories that, by the way, when I first got out and I ran across one of her videos randomly, I was like, this sounds so weird. This isn't what my prison experience was like at all. We don't check paperwork and we don't beat up chomos. And we don't, you know what they fight about? Girlfriends. That's it. They fight about girlfriends. You look to my girlfriend, you talk to my girlfriend's sliding with you, maybe some stolen property, maybe some snitching, but that's it. Snitching, stolen property, or girlfriends, that's it. And mainly girlfriends. And I'm like, and then you know what happens if you find out someone's a chomo or something like that? Someone goes and gets on the phone and calls their people and says, hey, look this up for me. Yeah. And then they verify it. And then y'all go talk about it. And then that's it. And then that's it. And then everybody keeps going about their life.
Nobody says you can't watch TV. No. You can't watch TV in the tea room.
No.
You gotta
so
get out
I'm
of
like,
prison.
What is she talking? And then she was talking about paperwork checks and stuff. I don't even know if girls know where their paperwork is. I don't remember anyone ever pulling it out and saying, yeah, I'm verifying me or whatever.
So by the way, this is
what?
Everything you're saying is exactly what Jess says. You know.
They do. That's why she had me with her stories. I'm not going to lie to you. This creator had me questioning I was at Lowell, which is the maximum security female state prison in Florida. There's only like Lowell, Gadsden, Homestead, Work Camp. There's only like 4, maybe I'm forgetting one, prisons, female prisons, state prisons in Florida. And that is the one with death row. And that is the one that's the maximum security and where all the real prolific, Eileen Wuornos and everybody was. And I'm just like questioning, damn, was that prison just really like pussy compared to all the other ones that she was at? Like Arkansas must be real hard, man. Cause dang, I was where Eileen Wuornos was. I was where everyone you see on Snapped or Killer Couples for the past 5 years was in there with me, and I literally never saw any of this. It was so bizarre. So, well, yeah.
So listen, I have another question.
Yes.
So you said you got on what, TikTok?
Yes.
And you started doing TikTok.
Yes.
So why did you do? Did you just think? I mean, did you think, hey, this will be something, or did you just think,
no?
Fuck
I
it,
saw
I'm bored.
people saying make $10,000 a month,
and you thought
with affiliate marketing, and I said, what? And then I saw people say make $10,000 a month by adding by like something else. And it was all video related, like affiliate marketing, digital marketing, this, that. And I was like, holy shit, I'm about to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I make 10 grand a month, every month from all these 6 different. Holy shit, it's on. And COVID was here. So I had nothing but my phone and time. So I was like, okay. And then I realized, like, they just want to sell me a course, and I bought them. I mean, I bought all the courses. I bought all 60 of them. So they got my money for sure. They're probably rich, and they're the millionaires now. But yeah, they got all my money for sure. But yeah, so after that, so I started making videos, and all of it was like skincare and makeup related because I was trying to make my 10 grand a month with affiliate marketing.
Right.
And when I finally was like, this is bullshit. I'm getting 75 views and nobody gives a shit.
Right.
And I have a filter on so they can't even see what my skincare and makeup is actually doing. I was like, eh. And I started talking about prison, a little bit about prison, little sprinkles of prison, but I was very ashamed. So last November, I only just told my story for the first time this past November, a couple months ago. I told my story. Like, if you go back on my TikTok, you'll see that that's the first time you ever hear me talk about me. And it's because my neighbor kept getting her fucking packages stolen. And she doesn't know I'm a cat burglar or ex-cat burglar. And I said, Miss Peggy, why don't you get a ring cam? Because they're stealing your packages because there's no threat here. Get a ring cam. She's like, I don't want to get a ring cam. They're not going to do anything. They're going to see it and still steal it. I'm like, yeah, maybe like once, but they're not going to keep coming back. I promise you. And I didn't want to say, hey, I'm an ex-cat burglar, and I'm telling you that it'll deter them.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I realized in that moment, Miss Peggy got the camera, got a ring, a little cheap $40 camera, and they stopped stealing her packages. And I was like, holy shit, maybe there's some value in telling people, hey, do these couple things, and like it'll help tremendously. And then as I started telling my story, people were like, well, why did you go? What's your story? Because I started talking first about just like prison, like 5 prison rules or 5 prison this or 3 things to not do in prison. Then I started saying tips of things that would help homeowners. And then people were like, well, how do you know? What did you do? Why were you in prison? Yeah. And then I started telling my story. And then, people were like, oh my God, so you don't have to come from a broken home or a bad background or whatever. And so then I thought, well, hell, maybe there's value in that. Maybe there's value in showing like, hey, you can crime and addiction do not discriminate. And then, now I've been out 4 years and people are like, man, how did you come out okay? And I'm like, I started cleaning toilets, living in a hotel, very humble and very grateful. And with not a lot of help and not a lot of money. And then people were like, for real? And I was like, yeah. And I stayed off social media. That was a big factor because I don't want to compare what other people had in their highlight reel to my very basic life that I was super proud of in my hotel room. I was very happy and proud of it. And I didn't want to look at you and all your fancy name brand stuff with your nice cars and your home, aesthetically pleasing home, and be like, damn, my hotel room doesn't look as good anymore. I did not even start a social media account until I'd been out for 2 years. And I didn't start talking about my story until this past November. So anyway, so when I started telling people that, they were like, oh man, my brother's about to get out, my dad's about to get out, I'm gonna tell him this. And I was like, well, maybe there's some value in that. So I was like, okay, maybe there's just value in this whole story. Let me just start telling people and they'll pick out whatever works for them and discard the rest. And then some people thought I was funny. So then, I just, that's it. Entertaining, value, education, encouragement, hope, whatever you get from it, you get it. And so, yeah, now here we are.
Did you give birth in jail, I'm assuming?
Yes. I gave birth to my first and only child while I was in jail. And thankfully, I was in jail, not in prison, because in prison, you're already convicted and you're found guilty. But in jail, you're still fighting your case. So at that point, they have to actually contact your emergency contact if you have an emergency during delivery, which I did. My emergency was I had to be induced. So they called my mom and they were like, hey, this is what's going on. She's having an emergency. And long story short, my mom was able to actually come to the hospital and my son's father. But I was handcuffed to the bed. I was shackled to the bed. It changed. It alternated depending on what was going on. Like while I was pushing, I was handcuffed. So, like this. But while I wasn't pushing, I was shackled. And I was there for 5 days. Thank God. By the way, it's unheard of to be there for 5 days. It's usually 24 hours vaginal delivery, 48 hours cesarean. My mom was like, professional courtesy, My mom was like, hey, she's going to go to prison for a while. We don't know how long yet, but can she like breastfeed her son? Can she bond with him a little bit? So they extended a little professional courtesy and allowed me to stay for a couple days longer and just extend things. And yeah, I had him in the hospital. I had him in the hospital while I was locked up let me tell you the weirdest part. The weirdest part of having my son while I was in jail was most women that have a baby are familiar with their doctor, their OBGYN, with the hospital. They usually do a tour first. Their husband's in the room, their mom's in the room, whomever. I had a jail guard, a doctor I'd never seen, nurses I didn't know, in a hospital I'd never been to, and I was terrified I was going to poop while I was pushing. So it was a bad situation. Right. And it all happened, by the way. Everything I just named happened. All strangers. And then when they gave, and I pooped. And then when my son was out, and the doctor felt odd. I could tell it was very awkward. He was like, who's going to cut the umbilical cord? And then he called a nurse's name. He was like, Nancy, cut the, and I was like, I'll cut it. Give him to me. And then he was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. So he put him in my arms. We had like a skin to skin, and I cut the umbilical cord. I was like, well, just me and you, guy. Like, because we were the only ones in there that knew each other. You know what I mean? Everybody else was a stranger. So my mom and his dad made it, but they didn't make it yet. They made it probably about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour or so after I had him. Because they had to, my mom, the hospital was Shands, which is not right in Ocala. And my mom's in Jacksonville. So my mom was driving about an hour and 45 minutes, and my son's father was driving like about 45 minutes.
And they took your son home?
Yeah, after the 5th day, his dad, my son's father, he took him home and he raised him.
Okay. And
then brought him to see me every weekend for almost 10 years, every Sunday. Don't get teary-eyed on me.
You didn't get me all fucked up. Anyway, okay.
He
So
says this because the whole time he was locked up, his mother, which was how old maybe at the time?
in her from 70s to 80s.
Okay.
So she would visit every other weekend, but she showed up every other weekend for 13 years. So that's
yeah, it's a thing. It's a load, man. They do it. They love it. I mean, there's nothing like a mother's love, but you know, for someone to do it for their child, it's such a different like dynamic because you know he's doing it for him, which is he thinks that this criminal that has this sentence that I lied about all my life to him, like the whole life we had, I've lied about my past, and yet you think I'm good enough of a person to be doing this every weekend for almost 10 years right. is an incredible act of kindness, and it's like I will forever be grateful because I don't know that I know anybody else that would have done that.
Right.
Like, is there, I guess, your biggest lick, or like the house that, you know, you made the most money at?
Okay. So my biggest lick, my biggest hit, it's actually kind of funny. There's a girl on TikTok right now, and she said, story time of when Jen Gomez robbed my parents' house and stole over $100,000. So the biggest lick that I've gotten was about $70,000 in jewelry and cash. There was like about 30 grand in cash or so. The rest was in jewelry. However, you know, when I see a story like hers, I'm like, well, damn. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't steal $100,000 from her home
right.
or from her parents' home. By the way, I reached out to her and we made friends. Crazy enough. Her mom forgave me. Thank God. They didn't have to do that. Really kind people, by the way. Made me feel even shittier than, you know, when I saw the video.
Rather have them hate me.
Oh, right. So kind. Daughter so kind. Mother so kind. Ridiculous. Great people. But yeah, she said I stole over $100,000 from her home, but tangibly, like me saying, hey, this is what I got. This is what I know I got in my pocket. About 70 grand from one house. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, my mom had a friend that did jewelry. Mm-hmm. She got robbed, and they stole like $500,000 in diamonds. And the guy that got caught, the way they caught the guy was he was in a bar selling like diamonds that are worth $2,000, $5,000, $6,000
for $500, $200,
$50,
Jesus,
$20.
Where was I that day?
I mean, and that's how they called him, because he had come in. The bartender finally said, I'm going to call the cops. This is the fourth time this week this guy's coming in selling diamonds for $50. Like, something's wrong. Cops show up, they grab him, the whole thing unravels. He was the guy that robbed him.
I wish the bartender would have just bought them all.
Almost no money left.
That's ridiculous. That's a junkie stunt,
Yeah.
Big junkie stunt.
What are some things that an everyday person can do to protect their house
Okay.
from a burglary?
So, in my opinion, as being an ex-cat burglar, I would say that there is like a few things that homeowners can do that would absolutely help them protect their home better. One of them being activate the freaking sensors or the feature in your alarm system that if you break glass, it goes off automatically. I know some people complain that like if a dog barks, it goes off or whatever. Just do it. Yeah. It will help so much. Do not post signs and pickets and things in your front yard saying you have an alarm system and what kind. It's not hard to figure out how to do things now. There's YouTube, how to disarm an ADT security system, how to bypass an ADT security system, how to, whatever, a ring.com. Like, don't advertise what you have going on. You're giving them information and a blueprint to your home. Try to keep your curtains and your blinds closed when you're not there. People can look in and get information about where's the master bedroom, where's the office, where's a kid's room. You don't know what they're there for. Close your freaking windows and blinds. If you have a front door and it's pretty and you want little like cutouts and stained glass and whatever, just try to get ones where you can't see too much of what's going on inside. Do not advertise that you have animals. If you do have animals, you can turn all the motion sensors off, okay? But then close your bedroom door and or your office door and or your kid's door. At the very least, your bedroom door, because every burglar is going to go there. And turn on the motion sensor in that one zone in your bedroom, because when the burglar goes in there, if they do, then it will go off automatically. Your dog doesn't have to go in that one room, like at least that one room. Right. Close the door and turn the sensor on. And just be conscientious of your neighbors. Like, say, hey, you don't have to become best friends with them, but just say hi sometimes. Know who's supposed to be in your neighborhood. If something feels weird, it probably is weird. And get yourself a freaking ring cam, because a ring cam will 100% deter people much more than you think. Police don't go after burglars based on a picture. Yes, true enough. But if they see a ring cam and it's motion activated, and you can even turn on like the little message that's just like automated, like, hey, how can we help you? Do that. Do all that. Ring cams are like $50 on Amazon. Just get one. I would start out with those few things and tell people, do that. Just do those things and it'll help tremendously.
Closest call where you got away.
Okay. So, no, I haven't told this story. One of the closest calls where I didn't get caught, you'd think would be when the helicopters were flying over me and the police cars were parked on every other street, but it was not. It was actually when I was inside of a home, and I would make provisions so that homeowners would make noise. Like I would, lock certain doors. I would think I'd hear beep, beep or something if they come in. That way, if I'm way off in a room, I would hear them and I could get out. But this one particular day, I didn't hear anything. I don't know what the hell happened. All of a sudden I heard a teenage male voice and a mom and groceries and wrestling. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I come out of the master bedroom and I'm in a long hallway. And at the end of the long hallway, to the left is the kitchen where I hear the people. And to the right is the garage door. About 5 feet in front of that is the front door to the right. But these people don't even know I'm in their home yet. So I have to get down this long hallway to the front door to get out. And then I have to open the front, unlock it, open it, let it go beep, beep, and then run to my car, which, by the way, my car's in their driveway. So what the hell are they thinking that there's a strange car in the driveway for? I don't know what they're thinking. But anyways, I start walking down the hall, and all of a sudden the mom sees the broken glass. And she's like, whatever, starts yelling and saying, come here, to her teenage son. And as I'm walking down this hall, she's walking on one side of this column that's lining the hallways. There's columns lining the hallway, and I'm rolling around the other side of the column. She's rolling on one side, walking. I'm on the other side. And finally, I make it past her. I'm passing her like this. She's passing me like this. I dart to the front door. I open it. I start running to my car. She's coming behind me. By the time I'm to the end of the sidewalk area, she's at the front door yelling, hey, stop. I'm calling the police. Man, that's not what's going to get me to stop, man. Sorry. Yeah. Anyways, so I jump in my car and I haul ass, and I get out of there. But that was a really close call because we were literally within inches of each other, each on one side of a set of columns. And, I was rolling like a ninja like this.
That's it. I would want to go into, but I know we don't have time. Like 10 years in prison, I'm sure there's a whole nother
there's a whole nother podcast on 10 years in prison.
Yeah, that would be like a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Because, that could be a part 2 because I'm telling you, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say. We could...
that starts a whole nother thing, just how Sharnice and I met. I was on my way to solitary confinement, and she went and jammed her foot in the door and was like, Sarge, hold on. Don't take her. She's not a heathen. Just hold on. Give me a chance with her. And that's how we started our friendship.
Yeah, I think we saved all that for a part 2.
Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you can hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Leave me a comment in the comment section. If you like the video, please share it, and please consider joining my Patreon. Thank you very much. Oh, and we're going to leave all of Jen's social media links in the description. See ya.